whatever you hope to find. It's a pretty good use of your time. Let's learn and talk about things like squirrels and satin strings. You might think we're bananas. It's the Biggie, Kelly, and your Nana show.
It seems so weird talking into a lampshade. I feel like such a chode right now.
Talking into a lampshade.
Just in case anyone thought this was like a high budget affair. Yeah, I'm talking into a fucking lampshade.
He forgot his mic stand.
Oh, God.
A mic stand. Yeah. We need to just get another one of these.
Yeah, it's
cool
like
shit.
$10
Yeah.
for one of those.
They're pretty awesome.
I mean, I'll pick up one.
Just order
Where do you
it
get them? Like
Amazon.
Amazon?
Yeah. Yeah, just type in mic boom or mic stand.
Cool. Do you see how much Amazon stock's been going up?
Nay. No, we need to pay Mr. Jeff Bezos, though. That's right.
It's makes you excited for all the new COVID regulations, because at least you know your corporations are taken care of.
Yeah, I mean, without all those small businesses, somebody's got to take their place.
Small businesses are down 250 billion. Yeah, 200, and I think corporations are up about 300 billion.
That's fucking crazy.
It's
some shit.
Because the Democrats are the party of the working man.
Yeah,
Right.
I read you know me, shitposting meme lord. I ran across a meme the other day that was going down all of the little things that they put on small businesses, which was like no more than 10 people in your diner, wear masks between bites, kick people out that don't leave their mask on. You've got to clean and sanitize 47 times a day. Like, they were just going down this giant list of, they sounded like California regulations, but let's be real.
Yeah,
the rest of the world will follow.
No plastic straws.
Yeah, so pretty much the U.S. here in the next, 6 months. And it was going down to all of these lists, and it said, you've destroyed and wrecked my small business to where I can't function anymore. Like, it's open from 5 to 7 p.m. Like, there you go. On Mondays and Tuesdays. Like, it got ridiculous, and it named off all these different things, and it said, it was naming off the things for, big corporations. Like, Walmart can still have 100 people milling about, right, and this and that. Granted, they still have restrictions, but it's going to affect small business harder, times 1,000.
Government regulation has always got a small business, because big corporations can always eat whatever the fee is that's tacked on to the regulation, where a small business can't.
Yeah,
they don't have that kind of budget.
Walmart's going to be able to hire an extra 12 people on board to clean those 47 times a day versus a small business. Like, now you've just taken 2 workers off the floor, and how are they supposed to serve the same amount of people without hiring a new worker? And they're open half the business hours that they were before, because only bad things happen after midnight. We got to close the state because COVID comes out at midnight. So
speaking of having your hands and knees on the floor, what is dating like with COVID now?
For me, it's the same that it's been for the past year, just uneventful and terrible. And I saw another good meme. I have to throw this one out there. Dating after you're 30 is like riding a bicycle, except that the bicycle's on fire and everything else is on fire because you're in hell. And I was like,
I would agree with that.
Damn, you just nailed it. Yep.
Yeah, and there's no seat. You just sit right there on the metal part.
Yeah, no, they took the seat off, and there's just a pole there.
Yeah, so, it's just a pole.
Yep.
Yeah,
it's attached to the wheel. It bounces up and down. Enjoy your ride.
Well, I just figure, I'm like, what do you do for dates now? I mean, dinner and a movie, like, Regal Cinemas is now closed.
Right.
And I'm sure that, dated the hell out of me saying dinner and a movie. But I mean, we're all the same.
I think what you meant to say was Netflix and chill, Ben, but I understand I understand the reference.
That's what the new kids. I embarrassed myself when I was talking to some younger kids. They were talking about Netflix and chill, and I just assumed because I'm old and my wife and I actually Netflix and chill. Mm-hmm. And by chill, I mean literally just sit there and eat some popcorn and watch a fucking movie.
Right.
You're like, yeah, I did that last night. They're like, oh, I bet you did.
Yeah, I'm like, oh yeah, man, I just love to just Netflix and chill. You know, we'll binge stuff, and we'll be talking about. I started talking about some show I was watching. I think it was Breaking Bad back then, and they were just like, "The fuck are you talking about?" And I'm like, "Talking about chilling." They're like, "That's not what fucking Netflix and chill means." I'm like, oh, because it seems like that's a very self-explanatory thing. Netflix and chill. To an elderly person, it is.
Yeah, it's somebody who's trying to get settled and possibly go to bed early.
Or are you still watching?
It's someone who's got their fucking pajamas on and their fuzzy socks, and they're like, got some chamomile tea.
Just finished a pint of...
Getting ready for bed.
Just finished a pint of Ben and Jerry's.
Well, that phenomenon passed me by because I think it's just passive and lazy. You know, I was brought up that you know, a man asks a girl out and they go out. You don't just invite a dude to your house and, you know, what's the difference? Am I not-
Yeah, moving.
What's the
Keep
difference
that
in
sucker
just,
about a fist face from your...
All right, Joe
yeah.
Rogan.
You watch Rogan? Okay.
I watch Joe Rogan all the time.
Oh, man,
I love
yeah.
Joe Rogan.
Yeah, he just went on full Spotify, so I lost him on Podbean. So I'm going to be getting Spotify soon, which...
I thought Spotify was trying to regulate them.
Yeah.
No, well, he says no. He says that he can do everything.
He keeps saying no, but I've read articles saying that he is just saying that because he's scared to, like, argue with him. I don't know. I'm not...
I can't
I ain't
imagine
speaking out
that,
of school,
though.
but,
That's hard for me to believe. He's so, you know,
yeah.
he's so independent.
Yeah,
That's
he's
just
definitely
why-
a ballsy wild man.
But
Yeah.
I mean, staying on focus, which we never do. You know, seriously, like, I don't know what. I guess it's all online, right?
Fuck.
Pretty much. That Tinder swipe, man. Thumb's still sore from yesterday.
I had when I worked at a girls' college, and they would come and tell me about Tinder. I didn't know what the hell Tinder was, and it sounds like something I would like to stay away from.
Yeah.
I think you just pretty accurately described it.
Yeah,
Right there.
It's pretty much. Was that you with the picture of like the girl that looked like like Goro from Mortal Kombat?
Yes.
Is like I got 6 kids, you know, no job, looks like Goro from
Oh,
Mortal
God.
Kombat.
Yeah, Goro.
but I want like a
Yeah.
6-foot man who's like
Yeah, it said
Who's hot?
if he ain't 6 foot, dark complected, got a Mercedes Benz and a you know a
can
house
handle
by
me
the
and my
beach.
6 kids.
Yeah, then he better not mess with me. And then below it said also has, and then it listed off all of her shit, and I was like, whoo, that seems like Tinder. But one thing I did notice on Tinder was I was going through it, and I've got Hinge and Tinder, right?
The hell's Hinge?
It's another dating site. So Hinge, though, I was going through, and no lie, as I was scrolling through it, like probably 7 out of 10 girls on there were not like they looked normal. They weren't ultra attractive. They were just average girls. That was like 7 out of 10. And on Tinder, it's the exact opposite. 7 smoking hot bikini model Maxim girls, and then 3 average looking girls
Is
or
that
whatnot.
is that local?
Well, I started wondering.
Yeah.
I was like,
Do you think they really look like
well,
that?
exactly. This is the thing. I don't think that it's that many catfishes. What I looked up, and apparently,
Catfishes.
yeah, I thought that's
Fucking
what it was.
whiskers.
Ben. So I
They're
thought,
just mud bottom feeding fucking whiskered
That's not right.
like lunch lady.
so I thought maybe that was
Some more
going on.
sloppy Joe.
I thought that was going on, and I looked it up, and apparently there was this big article written up that said that because of the amount of males that are on Tinder versus females, there's a lot more males on Tinder in general. Just like with everything else in the world, like there's men are drawn towards sex, and Tinder promotes the ability
It's
to
more
get
of a
sex
hookup
quickly.
site.
Exactly,
right?
it's more of a
It's
hookup
like
site.
Craigslist, but it doesn't give you the warning about STDs.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but we got to ban Craigslist. So
Are they trying to do that?
They already did.
It-
The-
Did it?
The casual meetings thing,
Oh,
casual
okay.
dating, or
Yeah.
whatever it was, they banned it because of prostitution. So it's gone now.
so what's the difference between Tinder?
You would ask that. I don't know what Craigslist did to piss the government off, but They were written up in one of the Senate bills.
Well, didn't it have something to do with like serial killers? Like we're finding
But serial
people
killers
and
can use
murdering them.
Tinder.
Right.
Right,
And
right.
that's
Ted
what,
Bundy's probably got an eHarmony account.
you could always, fluff it up to child trafficking.
What? What does that look?
Why are we giggling?
I mean, he's dead, so
Oh,
he,
he was around there.
he
in them
literally
Plenty of
got
Fish
fried.
days. So
Did he get fried or was it lethal injection?
I thought he got fried. I could be.
It was Florida.
I feel like he got fried. He got electrocuted.
it's always been Florida.
Florida and Texas.
So, no, I thought there for a while though. I was like, okay, maybe these are just fake, like people altering their pictures or using other people's pictures. Well, it turns out because of the amount of males on there, Tinder has went in, according to the site, and this was just by them doing some algorithm tests. They said that they have found a bunch of pictures of girls online, or they've paid girls like models to take their pictures, and they just put them on there as accounts. And they went to different cities and found the same girls.
Okay.
On Tinder.
So
So it's trying to get
basically-
you to be like, ooh, so many pretty girls, and swipe when 1 out of 10 of them are actual real girls.
Yeah.
I was going to say, because if you're looking...
Because when I look at Hinge, it's local, and I see the exact opposite. I'm like, all Brazilian swimsuit models, all like normal girls. So,
Yeah, that's.
but
bullshit.
everybody, but you would think, like, if you're not thinking through with it, then the normal person would be like, well, I'm going to go on Tinder because that's where all the hot girls are. Not knowing that they just swiped right 9 times
you would.
in vain.
You would know, that's not that much work to slide
Right.
9 times. But
Yeah,
but I mean, it's wasting your time in general.
Exactly.
But you would know pretty quick if no one ever responded back to you. But it probably wouldn't be very good for your self-esteem.
That's exactly
Yeah,
why
that's a
I
good
checked
point.
it. That's exactly why I checked it, because I was getting bummed out. I was like, why is everybody on here super hot and I'm not getting any responses? And I was like, well, I'm not a super attractive dude, but I'm like average. So I would figure that I would get a couple of responses at some point. But then it dawned on me after I read that article, oh, well, no wonder I've been swiping right on bots for 3 months now.
Yeah.
So I'm going to get a message a week or whatever. Now, granted, I did meet a girl on Tinder and she showed me her Tinder. She had like 10,000 pending messages, but that just shows you the amount of guys versus the amount of females that are on Tinder. And she was just an average looking girl. Like, she wasn't a supermodel by any means.
So I'm thinking Tinder is probably useless then.
Pretty much.
I don't have Tinder. I always thought, heard it was like just a site you go to meet and,
Yeah.
like what's the room number? Let's get down by, and I'm not into that, so I never did that one.
It just depends on how you use it, but I haven't. One of the things that irritated me about it was when I would meet girls on Tinder. Okay, here's a good example. When I was on Tinder, I would offer girls, hey, do you want to go out to dinner and a movie or dinner, whatever. There was like 3 or 4 girls during the first 6 months or so that I went out and bought these dinners at these really nice places, and they would just sit there and have dinner, and then they would get up and leave. And I was like, that's pretty smart. I don't blame you. I'd probably do the same thing if I looked good too.
Really?
Yeah, crazy, right? Yeah, almost like they were using me, but
Yeah.
almost like
That's
that.
shitty.
Yeah.
Perish the thought.
Yeah, it actually happened, and it really
I
crushed
guess
me.
they probably thought they were doing you a favor by just gracing you with their presence
I
for
think
an hour
that's
and a half.
exactly what they thought, because they didn't feel bad at all about it.
Did you ever try calling them back?
No, because I realized what they were there for. I was like, you were there for a free meal, and
That
was it.
See,
So-
now,
I mean, did they talk
so
to you?
so
They just
yeah.
like.
I mean, as much as they were required to.
that's-
what would
Yeah,
that?
no,
what,
it was shitty.
What would that look like?
Yeah.
What?
Like, so where are you from? Kalamazoo. Just real, you give them an open-ended
Very vanilla,
question, and
yeah.
they give you a closed-ended answer.
Oh,
Yeah.
for sure. And that's exactly how most of them went.
That's ridiculous.
That's horrible.
So I said to myself,
By the way, I don't think that would work for men. I don't think a guy could get away with that unless you look like
even
Chris
a really
Pratt
handsome
or
guy would
something.
be tough. Yeah.
Yeah. It'd have to be like, all right,
You'd
I'm
have to look
ready
like
to,
Yeah, you'd have to
get
look
down.
like Chris
Yeah.
Pratt.
Did you say crisp rat?
Chris Pratt.
Oh,
Which I don't really think he's attractive, but I see what you're saying.
so somebody named their child Crisp Rat.
Pratt. Chris Pratt.
Pratt. It's his last. Okay,
He's
he's just being. I just got trolled.
Yeah, you did. Hard.
They linked trolling to sociopathy.
So,
Just so you know.
So I talked to one of my buddies, though, and I explained to him what was going on, and he said, well, dude, what you need to do, she's been in the dating game for a long time, so I probably shouldn't take advice from him. But anyways, I told him this, and he said, what I figured out to do is take them to coffee. You're not out any money. It's like, what, $3 or $4, maybe $7 if you're going to Starbucks or something?
Very benign, right?
They said to do that anyway, just because you want. It's a very low-key, well, probably not high population now, but actually, where we live, no one gives two shits.
Yeah.
And honestly,
Yeah.
I was at like Walmart the other day, and it was like people on top of each other.
Just coughing in each other's mouths. Love it.
Yeah, just open each other's mouths and just cough right up in there.
So, so I tried this, right? I was like, coffee. That's a good idea. So I put out on my bio, I was like, we'll go on coffee date. So girls that
Well, hot girls not going to want just coffee.
They want me to take them to a fine dining restaurant so that they can answer vanilla questions and then leave.
Who wants to meet someone for a free $3 coffee when it costs $1.50 to drive out there?
Exactly. So I try, I try the coffee route, right? Every single girl that I would talk to me, and I would be like, so you want to go on a coffee date or something? Like, you live right down the street. We can meet at this local coffee shop, hang out for a minute, see where things go. All of them were like, just pretty much, no lie, like, no, but I'm down for dinner if you want to go to dinner.
Okay.
Just straight up. And I was like, wow, you're not even trying to hide your shallowness
in other words,
here.
I would have probably been like, all right, well, if you're going to, I appreciate your fourth word.
Yeah.
Is that fourth word?
It's honest.
Forthrightness. And so I'm willing to spend X amount on dinner if you're willing to come back to my apartment.
Right? Yeah, since we're being...
since we're both being so goddamn honest.
Yeah, since...
You know?
Exactly. Yeah.
Then you're the asshole, though.
Yes.
You know.
Yeah, then you're the asshole.
Yeah, I get that.
You're the asshole,
Sure.
and don't go into what you're doing at your apartment because that's considered solicitation, and you might go to jail for it. Literally.
What?
Well, then at that point, they would just be prostituting, too.
Exactly. So the solicitor gets in trouble, does the prostitute too. I'm just saying, like, you're so close to legality there that it's ridiculous that you should have to even go down. What happened to courting, you know?
That's been a ongoing joke, though, with comedians that, dating is kind of like a girl will, like, date a guy until they hit a certain amount of money spent, and then they'll sleep with them.
That was the thing that I showed you. Do you want a bracelet? Or do you do anal? She was like, I do anal. He was like, then you get a bracelet.
Oh, God.
it was
There's
terrible.
just like a certain amount of money that you spend before they were willing to put out again the next time.
Not all girls are like that.
Not all. Not all.
Not all.
But perhaps
But also-
the kind of girls that maybe some people are attracted to. I mean, let's face it, like...
Depends what you want.
If you
That's true.
do, want a certain outward person, you've got to accept that, like, if that person is gorgeous outside, then you might have to accept that maybe they're not that gorgeous inside.
That's
because
definitely a thing.
It's not always very balanced,
And it is very rare, I've noticed in life. And when it does pop up, it throws up a huge flag to me. Not in a bad way. Just, I'm like, whoa, it's interesting. It's when I see a superbly attractive person who also has a great personality and is a good, decent human.
Yeah,
That should not throw up a flag like, oh my God, I found one. But it does.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's so stereotypically not the case.
I would
Absolutely.
say that's not true in the general population.
Really? It has been in my experience. Like, if you meet a Mila Kunis or a Channing Tatum, usually they're not the sweetest people in the world. Generally, they don't give a shit about you unless you're an 8 or higher. If you're an 8 or below, then they're shallow, selfless.
Are we talking about online dating, or are we talking about just day-to-day people?
A little bit of both.
Because I can see that more with online dating than just in the general population.
It's more represented there, sure.
Because I definitely have worked with some attractive people who are nice.
I have too, and that's what I'm saying is when I see that person, I notice that. Because if there's 10 of them in the office that are super attractive, generally at least like 6 or 7 of them are kind of snobs. Or if they're friendly with you, they're only friendly with you because you work with them. And that's it. But if they're super, super handsome, they're not inviting you to go out with their gang of friends on the weekend. They're not inviting you to go to this and that. They're not being friendly with you with the exception of, I have to work with this guy. Or I have to work with this person. But also, I'm not the most likable person in the world, so I understand that.
We also have to be...
Just being honest.
We have to be honest, too. You know, it's like... Kind of like we were saying, what's a Channing Tatum?
You mean what's a Channing Tatum? What do you mean?
Is that a person?
He's kind of like a Chris
It's a
Pratt.
guy.
He's
It's
a
a
hot
guy.
guy. Yes,
Yes.
now he's hot.
He's like, okay.
Yes.
So
very
he's
much
like
so.
the guy that
But you
plays...
didn't have to ask who Mila Kunis was.
No, she's a gamer chick. She's actually probably pretty low-key.
Is she really?
She's
Yeah.
not, is she?
She plays World of Warcraft.
Goodness. Wow.
Yeah.
Cool.
He's like, just if
I just feel I like her though. I think she would like be a cool chick. Just in
I
general.
think she probably is.
Yeah.
I don't think she's that hot.
Okay.
No, I mean...
There's your opinion. Oh my God, really? Because the whole world disagrees with you.
I'm not
on
saying...
maximum
I think she's
level.
very pretty.
Well, I'm not saying she's not attractive. There's a difference. I don't think she's like...
Oh, really? Like, because I know what you're saying. Like,
I think
you
she's
think
cute.
she's more like beautiful. Like, I would like my daughter or whatever to look like that type of thing to where it's pretty. I think she's the exact opposite. I could see her like putting a ball gag in my mouth and whipping me. Like, she just looks like an
So
S&M
how's that
chick.
different than usual?
Mila couldn't.
No, I'm talking about hot versus beautiful. Like, she just, I guess it's the brunette thing.
Oh
I
my
look
God.
at, like a brunette. To me, an S&M could never be a blonde girl. I don't know why. But I have
You just
problems
can't see yourself
visualizing
getting
that.
spanked by a blondie.
Yeah. With like one of those whips that has like bitch labeled out in it, so when they smack you real hard, it whelps up and leaves that part.
I'm trying to think if I know any blondes. Blondes just don't seem like they're that kind.
That's what I'm getting at. Yeah.
There's...
I don't
Visually,
know.
it's hard to
I
put.
don't know.
You disagree?
Blondes, well, for sure, I think blondes play up the blonde card, right? You know, I'm pretty, do for me. How do you do this? I don't know how to do that. Can you show me? Can you reach that for me?
I'm picking up some,
true.
some latent anger and resentment.
No, well,
No, well, yeah, maybe.
You can go blonde though; it's a dye. You know.
I do have an
It
issue
only
with that
matters if
kind
the
of.
drapes match the curtains. And honestly, most guys don't give a shit.
I don't think anybody wants to, drapes anymore.
That's a good point. I don't know. I still like purple on purple. So
The 70s bush is over. I mean, the dream is dead. The pain is.
I don't know. I
Anyway.
think there's a small circle of women that are trying to bring back the full 70s thing.
a very small circle.
And most of them date women.
That's right.
Purple on purple.
That's right.
There we go.
Well, that's an interesting perspective from, the male journey with Tinder.
So what's the female journey?
Please.
So I made the mistake of signing up for Plenty of Fish, which is another just straight
See, that's what I
hookup.
used before I was married.
Yeah.
Well, it has
It was
become
good back in the day.
It was
straight hookup
legit.
site.
It was really legit back then.
Well, now it's full of like bots and
Did you have like
catfishies.
7 messages waiting on you?
Well, I mean, I got a ton of like.
Oh, like real and bot.
Yeah, I mean, you have
Yeah.
to. Like, I'm not even saying like 50 to 100 within like the first week, and then there's one very attractive guy. I was like, oh, okay, he's attractive. Well, I started speaking to him, and he said, "This is my room number. I want you to meet me here." Like, he just automatically assumed, and I imagine he probably gets. A lot of action because
being
he's
attractive,
he's
right.
hot. I was
That
like,
or he's a police officer or something, right?
oh, he was pretty gorgeous, but I started talking to him about, what makes you feel that you need to do this with women?
Let's turn this into a therapy
Yeah,
session.
that's exactly what I did. I tried to rescue him.
You wanted to
Trying to
psycho.
rescue
I'm
him.
trying to rescue
You
him.
needed to psychoanalyze him so that maybe you could make him a decent person.
I'm like, is this your self-esteem? Do you just automatically assume, like, who are you? I started engaging him in those kinds of questions, and he
Well,
got
most-
offended.
Most women want a guy that they can tame.
That
That's why most women are
Not
not
me.
attracted to beta males.
It's a higher.
Not me.
I
Says
think-
the person who just said that.
No, that was not my intention. My intention is I actually felt sorry for him because I felt like he just thought that that's what he was good for, a lay.
Maybe that was what his talent is.
I mean, that's kind of sad though, right?
I don't know.
Well,
I
I mean,
don't
if
know.
he's
Got
happy
it.
and they're happy.
Yeah, I was going
I
to
mean,
say.
yeah, he could have been just
It
a
might
complete
be sad when he
sociopath and a sex addict.
Yeah,
and-
when he becomes like middle aged, it might be pitiful. But right now, he probably doesn't look at it that way.
I don't know.
He'll be eating that bowl of Ben and Jerry's, watching Netflix, crying.
He'll be Netflix and chill like the real person.
Old school Netflix and chill.
Like
Well, so I decided to not be on any of those, and I actually committed to a eHarmony.
Oh,
thing.
how's
For
that?
I
a
tried
year.
that. I tried
Okay.
that one time when I was about 12, 13 years ago. I tried it. Did you have any luck?
Well, I sent you the non sequitur.
Oh yeah, talk about that. That was great.
So there's this guy. I thought he was kind of cute, and he's been texting me a little bit on the eHarmony, and he'll just pop in and just like, hey, how you doing?
Oh,
You
this
know?
is a current thing? Still
Yeah,
on?
yeah.
Okay.
Very quick, which I like. I hate when men,
In-depth 3,000 word back and forth must answer now type thing.
well, yeah, or get so consumed with wanting to talk to you like I'm trying to nail this down.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. I
People
hate
that don't have lives outside of that.
Well,
Yeah.
it's easy when you're spending money. The other ones are free. You're not out
Yeah.
anything. But if you're spending money, you're just like, all right, we need some kind of a resolution right now. Are you interested or not? Should we go forward? Because if not, then we'll move on.
Well, this guy's just been like, a little bit here or there, and
But that's convenient for your lifestyle. Like, you got work, and you're an adult, so you
Well,
got other
yeah.
things you got to do.
well, yeah, and I don't want to
Right.
be like so consumed with what kind of engagement you want me to be in that I forget the shit that I have to do, and then you get mad at me because I'm a different kind of female. Anyway,
No, I get that.
so the fella, we got into like a serious discussion about drug abuse, and I talked with him about how many overdoses that are happening since COVID. He goes, yeah, my neighbor committed suicide 3 weeks ago. So, did you do your Christmas decoration?
Whoa! It's quite the segue.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm like, I can never marry you now. I can't do it. I can't.
At least there was like that awkward silence when you realized it was Biggie. it's like, yeah, whoa, yeah, what a freak.
I should have commented and been like, so you told me that you put the angel on top of the tree. Just roll with
Yeah,
it,
just rolled with it like you were that freak. Well, people who have really twisted jobs, like that kind of dark information just does not, it rolls off them totally different.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that is true. Well, did you have something else with eHarmony? Go ahead.
No, I just
See, I didn't have any luck with it. I met a couple. Well, I'll tell you what. It could have been me though. Does eHarmony still do those quizzes?
like the personality.
No, not when you sign up, but like a compatibility quiz, like you fill out before you even engage in a conversation with them.
No.
So they got rid of
No.
all that.
Well, that one guy, he sent me. It's a cute little thing. Icebreaker is like, what do you have in common? So like it was like 5 pictures, and if we had like 3 out of 5 in common, then that's a great thing.
Yeah,
or
see,
something.
when I did it, and like I said, this was about 13 years ago, they were still doing the commercials on TV with the guy and who started it. And they would submit a questionnaire. You come up with your own questions and what you want your answers to be. And then that you just submit that. And before you can even say hi to someone, you had to do this questionnaire for them. And then they could choose whether or not to go yay or nay and go from there. And I rarely ever made it past the questionnaire. And I think what it was, off the top of my head, I didn't have. I know that eHarmony says to not just look local, to look broader, and because I was not finding anyone locally who was using eHarmony.
Yeah.
Like-
That's still an issue.
Like it was like at least an hour and a half at closest. People like all the way out like in Maryland or something, right?
Yeah.
And so I was like, I think I finally realized what had happened. I was getting a lot of questions, like, is it okay? Would it bother you if I had a bunch of male friends?
What?
I was getting a lot of questions like that. And my answer at the time, because I had literally just gotten out of a relationship with someone who would cheat on me with all of their male friends, was like, no, if you're going to be an adult, you know, most people have friends of the same gender. When you
Right.
have someone who's always surrounded by opposite gender friends, that was a warning sign to me. And not just because of that relationship, just in general.
Yeah.
I grew up watching Friends where they fucked each other.
Yeah.
And you, I mean that was the
Yeah,
show, right? It
they
wasn't the
did.
Waltons, and so I'm thinking, if you have like one friend who you grew up with your whole life that's a dude, you know,
Yeah.
whatever. But if you're always surrounded by dudes, that was a huge war. So I would always just be like, yeah, and I rarely ever. I think that was turning off so many people.
Well,
And-
I think that was a stupid question, and especially the way eHarmony markets itself, you know, to find your love. You know, this is like the real deal site, which is why I signed up for it, because it's because I'm not looking for bullshit. I'm not looking,
Yeah,
you know,
well,
I want the real thing.
That's what I was thinking. I was like, well, if I'm looking for somebody who wants a mature, committed relationship, possibly down the road, right?
Yeah.
You know, I'm thinking someone who just hangs out with a bunch of, in case of emergency, you know, break glass for emergency dick
Right.
going around. You know, they
That's
would.
a problem.
Yeah, and I mean, it's nice to have a little validation from a woman. Because at that time, my only validation was my mom, and that's fucking sad. But
Yeah.
but she's this like,
Been there.
but
Oh, y'all weren't supposed to laugh at that. Oh.
does she still tuck you in at night?
She's a very sweet lady. No woman can compare.
No one can ever compare to Mama. No, but it is, because she would say kind of the same thing. She's like, well, if you want a healthy relationship, she's like,
Right.
she would say the other way, if she was going to date a guy when she was single that only hung out with women, she's like, why would I want to? That's,
Yeah.
he would sound like a player,
Yeah.
or whatever they call that back in the disco day.
Well, you're not supposed to have a third party in your relationship. And if there's some other dude hanging around, that's a third party, right? You know,
I can't tell you how many exes I had during this like period that they were always staying friends with their exes.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
It was like, oh, we're still friends. Oh, we're still friends. I was like, this guy was inside of you, right?
Yeah.
and she's like, yeah, but you know, we're still friends. I was like,
You should meet him.
yeah, you should meet him. We'll go out to eat sometime. I'm like, okay, are you what?
Is this normal? Where
Yeah.
you come from? Like,
And I
odd.
just, to me, that's not like the foundation for a healthy relationship.
you don't
No.
say.
You know, stringing along all your ex-boyfriends.
Right.
And, you know, back then I was just drinking scotch. I didn't give a shit. And, but by the time I started eHarmony, I was like, well, I'm paying for this. You know, maybe it is time. That was probably about 25-ish. I was like, maybe it's time to start looking at maturing a little. And I don't know. I just, that was a huge warning sign for me.
It's way before I started maturing.
So, what do you think?
Hey,
I'm just paying
I'm just
for a
slowing
slave.
down.
So, where do we stand, male perspective and female perspective, to a guy that does it or a girl that does it, to where I only hang out with guys, like I'm only comfortable around guys? Like, I know that that's close to what you were saying, but if it's not even a girl that you're dating, you just meet a girl and she's like, oh, I hang out with nothing but guys. Or you meet a guy and he says, I hang out with nothing but girls. I just get along with them better. For me, if it's a guy, it's going to be one of two things. It's going to be you're either gay or you're trying to fuck everything that you can, everything that walks.
Well, that's what
that's
Chris Rock
female.
said. Guys just have girls they haven't fucked yet. And see, as a guy, maybe that's what bothered me. It's not that
Yeah.
I didn't trust her per se. It's just I knew what guys were thinking.
That's true.
Guys typically only have women around because they're trying to sleep with them.
Right. So what about on the female side, though? Like,
That I don't have an answer for.
well, what do you think, Anna?
I am somebody. I've had male friends ever since I was little. Like all night, I connect better with males. But it's different when I'm in a relationship with a man, and my male friends know that dynamic changes. And that's not to say that I have men around me all the time. I mean, it's just that I feel that I connect with dudes, better than females. I've always been like that. But no, when I'm in a relationship, I'm with that person.
Well, see
That's it.
That makes sense.
What my mom was thinking. I sound like such a fucking chode.
Well, before you jump on that, just directly off from what she was saying.
Stop me from just completely looking like some.
No one can compare to your mother. We know.
Yeah.
I know.
I know your mother.
So
Your mother's great, dude.
she is a saint. No, what you were saying though was like the one thing that I've noticed that of chicks that hang around a lot of guys versus chicks that hang around a lot of chicks. Like chicks that hang around a lot of guys generally either have, and that's why they're hanging out with them, or they quickly develop a cruder sense of humor. And that fits in with guys better than it does other females. Because if you said to another female, if you were talking about like bleaching an asshole or something, girls would be like, oh, heavens, and fan themselves like it's the 1700s.
Even if they all do it.
Yeah, exactly. But guys, they'd be like, yup, right on. I like when she does that. Yep. Like, it's just part of the normal stereotypical conversation. I think that personality, like I used to think, before I met more and more, especially before the Marine Corps, because now that I went through the Marine Corps, I'm like, oh, okay, well, it's, 50-50, like with human beings out there. Some of them are just hoes, and that's why they like hanging around guys. But a lot of them just have a crude personality, and it fits in better with that
I think
masculine.
I want to say the difference
environment.
is who are these friends? Is it their exes, people they've slept with,
That's important. Yeah.
or is it just like dudes
long-term work
that
friends
they've known
friends
since
from
high school and
Yeah.
shit?
Right. That needs to
Because
be
like when I
asked.
met my wife, she was like, "Oh, I'm really only comfortable with dudes," which is weird because when I met her, she was only hanging out with women, except for like her one friend who was gay, and I didn't really know what she meant, but I guess she really up until that time, we've been together for 10 years, but up till that time, she really had only hung out with dudes, and now she's not crass at all, but I don't know. I think if it's your exes, that's different than just friends, too.
I think so, too, because I think that's something that's always waiting to happen.
Well,
and I've never really kept exes around
Well, it's
because
not healthy.
I get too emotionally involved.
See, the way that I think is, and this is what I was, even back when I was 25, I would think, it's not healthy. You broke up for a reason. There's something that you're not compatible, so why still be friends? That just doesn't make sense to me.
I think I think you're right. I think it's just a backup leg.
I think it's
like if I'm bored, let me call Joe.
Yeah, and which is awful for Joe. Because now because I know like this one ex of mine, like her boyfriend's she was like a puppet master.
Yeah.
And she'd just tell him to dance.
It can't.
Well, it goes both ways.
I'm sure it does. No,
gotta edit me
but
out.
my experience is not dating histrionic men.
Which time?
What time?
Time?
40 minutes in.
Yeah. I know what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah, and like you said, it definitely goes both ways. And because as a guy, we feel like it, and I know exactly what you're saying. It feels like more often that happens to me, then what I've done it. Do you know what I'm saying?
Well, I don't carry my exes around because I usually when we finally get to the point where we break up, I don't want to be around you.
Yeah.
Right, but the handful of
I just
times
don't.
that I have remained friends with an ex after the fact, it's always hurtful because I still have those emotions and she broke up with me. But I think to myself, how many times have I had that done to me versus how many times have I done that to others? And it's not even remotely close. I've had that done to me a lot more than I've done it to others. So in my world, it seems like women do that to men more often. Now I understand though also that I won't say all, but a lot of my girlfriends that I've had have been more attractive than me. So at the end of the day, maybe that's what that has to do is that attractiveness level. So that might play into that. But I don't know. But I see what you're saying where you're thinking that's more often a girl tactic than a guy tactic. I don't know because I see it that way.
With me, if, I even entertain an ex, yeah, we broke up, so can we hook up next weekend? And to me that's hurtful because, he's trying to use me for sex. So it's like, fuck you.
So would you say that?
So I've never used. No, that's a lie.
I was about to say I was just now very honest. You better be honest too.
I've never.
You haven't made
used
a habit of
an ex for sex after the fact. I have
I
probably
just use my exes for sex during the fact.
No, not if I'm with them. I mean,
So
everybody's
you
head's
use your boyfriend for
everybody's
sex
head's
sometimes.
strange, right? So, and everybody's had sex to have sex, but I've never said I'm going. We're broken up, so I can still keep him on the side and get a little this. I don't do that.
I had talked like I was talking about being a chode, dwelling in my mother's basement.
She's a very nice lady.
She is a very nice lady, and we'd come to the conclusion that what it probably seemed like to them, because it's such a weird question to ask before you even get started talking, and maybe from their perspective, maybe they had been in a bunch of controlling relationships where they weren't allowed, where like the guy was telling them who their friends could be. That's the only thing I could think of, and so that's why they were putting those questions, and they were just thinking, this dude's controlling. This is the guy who's going to tell me who I'm allowed to hang out with and who I'm not.
Yeah,
and
but
I'm thinking this is a person who's just going to be dangling all their exes around.
And I could see that being two completely opposite situations, but you're thinking that and they're thinking something completely different.
And that's what makes it just a BS question, because you can't actually go into deeper to discuss it together, because you may still be on the same page.
Right,
Yeah.
but if they go super deep with that question, to me, maybe it's a little shallow of me, but to me, that throws up a flag when she says, oh, all of my exes were super controlling. I wasn't allowed to wear shorts or talk to any man. It makes me like, you're kind of bad at making decisions, aren't you?
Well, if she's...
She wants an asshole.
Exactly.
That's what she wants. She
Right.
wants someone to reject her. So if you are...
So that throws up a red flag to me, as it should.
Yes, it should, because if you are a nice guy, then she's not going to view you the same as the way she viewed 6'3" hot guy who treated me like shit. She's might flip the script and start treating you like shit.
That so brings on, I wrote a couple of talking points down here, that brings on to one of my very important, as you can see, number one, talking for months. So when I started on Tinder and other sites, like when I would talk to some of these girls, they would talk to me, and they would talk to me, and they would talk to me, and I would say, hey, let's go out for coffee. Let's go out for dinner. Let's fucking meet each other in human form. Let's do that. And they wouldn't. They would keep talking, and something would come up, or this or that. In other words, they were straight flaking on me every single time. And I was like, why is that? And I started psychoanalyzing the situation, and I was like, I figured out what happened here. Because a lot of these girls were a lot more attractive than me, and I was sitting there thinking to myself, okay, I'm thinking that this is what's going on. And I actually literally wrote this out and copy and pasted it to where if I talk to a girl for more than like a couple of weeks and she doesn't, I'm not saying come to room 109.
No, you're saying let's go grab something to eat.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly, which is very different.
No,
that's
yeah,
not
it's
that's
normal.
not that's not
That's
being
what
an
the
asshole at
natural
all.
progression would be.
Exactly. So if I talk to them, I will literally monitor it. Well, it's been 9 days. It's been, whatever number I want to throw out there. It's been this many days. This should have happened by now. I would literally copy and paste this and send it to her. And what it was an explanation of who she is as a person. Like, I know that sounds terrible, but it would be. Because I would be like, this is what I've seen happen, and this is what I believe you're doing. And what it said pretty much was, I still got it on my phone here. I'm not going to open it up and read it. But the gist of it, because it's pretty lengthy. Because also, like, they've wasted so much of my time, I don't care if I piss them off. But I'm letting them know that I'm onto them, and they would always get mad about it. Because they would realize, oh shit, somebody figured out what I was doing. I was like, yeah, you're not as sneaky as you thought. They just hadn't ran into anybody that had psychologically kind of broken down this thing.
Cared enough
Or
to.
it's or
That's
some
true,
people,
yeah.
Some people don't even understand their own motivations. It's below their own consciousness.
That's true, and that's another thing. I'm either
So
irritating.
anyway,
I'm
get
either
to your point. So
I'm
what
either,
did you say to this person?
I'm either irritating you or I'm teaching you. Either way.
Either way, but you can if they're unaware and you're making something unaware or making something aware that they're not comfortable with, they're going to have the natural response of anger.
Yes.
So
100%.
anyway, so what did you say?
So what I said to them was, I realize what you're doing here. What you're doing, and this was all the girls, because they would talk to me about their former asshole boyfriend. It's always the first thing that they want to talk about. So I'd be like, all right, so...
That's like
That's a
big,
red flag.
big
Right.
turn off.
Always is, and that's 9 out of 10 of the girls
Nothing
that I
makes
talk
a
to.
dick drop like that.
Exactly. It's just sad. Just a little sad face on the end of it.
A little sad face on the colonel is not happy.
So I would talk to these girls, and I would say, look, I know exactly what you've done here. Your previous ex was an asshole, but you were extremely attracted to him because you're probably generally attracted to assholes. What you do in life is you find a nice, sweet guy who's not as attractive as your ex. You find him, and you use him as somebody to talk to when you're bored to pump up your ego until you move on to that next asshole.
That's it.
So as soon as me and you are done, finished talking, as soon as I've invited you out 30 times and you haven't went once. But the moment that some handsome guy that's also a prick is like, I mean, I guess I'll go out with you on this day, maybe, if I'm not busy, doing something else, then she'll jump all over that and go out with him because now she has the ego that she's built up from somebody like me telling her that she's pretty.
Okay,
Absolutely, you got it.
Yeah.
you nailed it.
I just nailed it, and I copied and pasted and sent that to I don't know how many girls, and
So
I'm
what
like, your trick's not as good as you think it is. Like, some of us are smart enough to figure it out.
That is, there's a term for that.
What's the term?
Friend zone.
Yeah.
You get friend zoned, and you're just there. They're not actually romantically interested in you. They have decided you're a nice guy, and they want to use you to feel better about themselves. Or so the question is, you just got put in the beta male category, which you're a fucking Marine. You're anything but a beta male.
Exactly. Yeah.
So what I'm thinking is, if they start doing that, you need to figure out a way to show them I'm not just some fucking like bullshit pussy male.
Well, I have a
but-
simpler solution.
Well, my problem with that, and I'll let you get to it in 2 seconds.
Let the guys like pretend we know what we're talking about for a second,
Okay,
and then correct
I'll
us.
sit back and enjoy.
I promise.
Correct us later.
Nana will sit back and enjoy.
It'll be real quick.
Let us be wrong here for a minute, and then we'll let you talk.
So, my only problem with that is my way of getting out of that is not complimenting them, not building them up as a person. And if you do that, sure, you might find that one that's like, oh, he's being an asshole to me. It's kind of hot. He's not complimenting me. I just posted this really cute picture and he didn't say anything about it. Like, and that makes you an asshole. And the thing is, if you're that type of person and that's what she's looking for, that's also a reason that you shouldn't date her.
Well, okay.
It's because she's looking for assholes who won't give her any compliments.
All right,
So if I pass out compliments to 10 people and one of them pick up on it, I figure that's better than no compliments and 9 of them pick up, but they're all pieces of shit.
Okay.
Does that make
Well,
sense?
let me play a little devil's advocate here. Let's assume they're not looking. Let's assume they're mildly healthy and they're not looking for an asshole.
Okay.
Not being attracted to a beta male does not mean that there's some stuck-up bitch. right? That's evolution.
Right. No, I get that.
And
Yes, this is
what?
true.
So the healthy thing would be, instead of asshole, say someone assertive, right? Are you following me?
But give an example, because I'm not
Somebody
sure.
who's a man.
Yeah, someone
Not a
who's just
boy.
like, hey, there's a lot of talking here. This is what I'm looking for. I don't know what you're looking for, but we're either going forward or not. That's assertive as hell, but you're
Right.
still being nice. I
Sure.
see things about you I like. Hopefully, you see things about me you like. We're either going to go forward here, or I'm going to quit wasting my time.
Right.
Then you have just put the ball in her court, and to make a decision, and you're also being assertive as hell, but you're still being nice, right?
Right.
Because assertive, you don't want to be an ass. You don't want to be an asshole, but women still want a man who's assertive, not someone who's just going, oh, whatever you want, dear.
Right. Yeah.
That's for marriage.
I agree with that. That's post ring.
That's post ring.
Yeah. That's a good point.
53 minutes. We have to go and edit him out.
Yeah.
What was your answer you're going to give us?
Just be clear about what you want. And like, so I'm giving dudes 2 weeks, right? Because I've run into the same issue as well. I've talked to a few boys, One of the things I'm realizing is I'm a woman. I'm not a girl anymore. So first of all, I have to behave as such. And if I'm a woman now, I want a man, not a boy.
Yeah, like no playing games. You get to a certain point where you just want to fucking just say what you want and expect someone to know what they want.
Yes.
Yeah,
And-
that game shit. You're probably talking to kids.
For sure.
And I don't mean like legal kids, of course, but just emotionally
Girls.
stunted young girls that are not just mature and know what they
Yeah.
want.
It's true.
So I'm giving them 2 weeks because I was doing that with a couple of boys where we would talk. I'm like, what the hell is up with this online dating? We talked for like a couple of months. And I'm like, am I ever going to meet this person? Am I in a relationship? Do they think we're in a relationship?
Right.
Yeah,
We haven't
no, I
even
get
fucking
it.
met.
Yeah.
What is this?
I think there's a lot of people that also just tell me if I'm wrong here, but I think there's a lot online dating. What I noticed was it was just fucking difficult because I think there was a lot of socially awkward people online dating, and so you are also, everyone is kind of at the bottom of the barrel.
Yeah.
And even myself included at that time, I'm not going to lie.
Right.
And so we're a bunch of socially awkward ass people
Yeah.
who maybe they're a little afraid to go meet.
Yeah. Well, I think what you just said was really important because, like, a lot of the girls that I would run into, I can't give an exact statistic on it, but I'd say more than 50% of them, I could tell were extremely socially awkward. And I asked myself, why is that? Like, why are only the socially, most of the girls on here socially awkward? And then it started dawning on me, that's because all of the ones that are normal have already gotten scooped up by a dude and they're married. And vice versa.
Vice versa.
With,
Well,
with the genders. You
I
don't
wouldn't
flip
go
the genders
that.
there.
I wouldn't necessarily go that far. They just don't need to go online to meet people. They're meeting
That's
people
true.
at the supermarket.
They're social
They're
butterflies.
meeting
They've already
people-
got.
Yeah.
They're going out groups
Yeah,
on the
you're
weekend.
right.
20
Yeah.
people.
They're
deep.
meeting people in other ways,
That's true.
and
Yeah, it's tough for like an introvert.
Introvert.
It
Yeah.
really is.
Yeah.
well, that's
life
what I
in
always
general.
struggle. Now I've learned to force myself to be more extroverted, just because as I've gotten older, I've just kind of stopped caring. It's like, because it used to be, oh, what is this person going to think? Now I'm just like, I don't give a fuck. My
Yeah.
wife will be like, I can't believe you said that. I'm like, I don't care. Like, but you could have made that person I like you. I'm like, don't care.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My life was
really-
going
Yeah.
great before I met that person.
And it will
And it's gonna
continue
be
to
fun
flow
after.
the same way.
yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
You
It's
know,
true.
I don't intentionally try to be a douche, but everyone has up days and down days, and I just don't care.
I think that's age, though. too,
I
'cause
think
I've
it's
got
all
it.
age. I
Yeah.
think like I was thinking about that because I do this training for like 50, 60 people. I would have been terrified to do that kind of training,
Right.
but I don't give two shits now, and I don't get nervous
Right.
speaking in front of large crowds, and I think it's just because I don't care. And I think that's just because I'm older.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to think back to when you were in high school.
I'm so just who I am now.
If you were up in front of
Yeah.
a crowd in high school and your voice squeaked or some shit and everybody laughed, you'd feel down on yourself.
Yeah.
Now, with me being...
my voice squeaks, I crack up.
With
I
me,
make a joke
with
out of
me
it.
going through the Marine Corps, I'm the first person in the crowd that I pick on every time.
Yeah. Well-
I pick on because this is the thing. If someone says something and they find out that it hurts you or they find out that it gets to you, you've just opened a fucking can of worms. Now they're going to destroy you. Everybody's going to cut you down with that same thing. But if they know that you just flipped that joke or turned it in or just absorbed it and made fun of yourself, like that right there to me is an armor that's like 12 inches thick. And it always has been. When you're able to not take anything serious, like you said, just not give a fuck and nothing offends you, it's very difficult. People are like, "Oh, he's no fun to fuck with."
No
Let me
one-
find
yeah.
somebody
no one
that I
ever-
can actually hurt.
No one. It's like when I play WoW. No one screws with me. I totally leave myself open to jokes all the time, but maybe that's why.
Right.
Because
It gets
they're
boring.
just picking up that
They-
I'm so okay with it.
They don't get the
Yeah.
reaction that they're looking for.
No, and I think what we're talking about is confidence.
Yeah. 100%.
And so here's the
Yeah.
question: is-
Confidence and not giving a fuck. It's funny how those two things
So
are so intertwined.
it doesn't imply that if I hurt someone's feelings, I might not feel bad.
Right.
Yeah.
And so if you told me to say, "Hey, that really hurt my feelings," I'll be like, "Oh, I'm sorry."
Yeah.
But
It's not sociopathy. Like,
yeah, unless I'm on a job interview, I don't really care about my first impression that much.
Yeah.
Because what am I trying to do? Well, if I'm everyone has a work hat. We wear different hats, and so my job is a little bit different.
Yeah, people that meet me at my job, you can ask him. He's seen me at my job, completely different human being than outside of my job. Like two very different people. The sense of humor is
I'm
still
pretty
there.
congruent,
I'm still dark,
but I'm definitely
but-
more outgoing at my job, and then I come home and fall asleep
Right?
because I'm a fucking introvert.
yeah.
Yeah.
Heard
That's equal there.
Yeah, so
Anyway.
here's the question for all of us too, since we went there. Does that mean that most people, I hate making any all or never, but does that mean most people just get more confident as they get older?
I would say that's fair to say. Yeah.
I think you know who you are.
Yeah, I think that is confidence.
Yeah. I think on average.
I think confidence really you can break it down to just knowing who you are and what you want.
That's right. Knowing who you are, what is it that I must have, and if you have those things, you don't really give a shit what other people think about you.
So if you're projecting, if you find instead of doing a lengthy cut and paste email, just psychoanalyzing them and tearing them down, you're going to instantly scare them off. Do something that's a copy and paste that's just saying, hey, this is what I'm looking for. Are you looking for it? Because if not, we're wasting our time.
Yes.
And just, does that make sense?
yeah. Coffee shop,
instead of
3 p.m. If you're not there, then you missed out, girl.
Yeah.
You wanna-
Yeah, exactly. It's like, I'm going to get coffee at 3 p.m. at Starbucks. I'll be the dude wearing the jester cap. And
That's my hat right there.
we
were just talking about hats.
You either meet me or not. But this is what I'm looking for. This is
I could read you my eHarmony thing.
The biography.
Yeah. It's
Okay.
it's in alignment with this, for sure.
While you're looking that up, can I?
Wait, you want to move on to your other question?
Yeah.
Yeah.
While you're pulling it up there. So I told you about this actual Tinder hookup. This is crazy. I try to be a gentleman on Tinder for like a year, right? I'm trying for
dedication.
like a solid year, and I'm being a gentleman. I'm like, let's go get coffee, let's go get food, let's go get this. I was about to literally delete my account off there, and a girl had swiped right or whatnot, and I start talking to her a little bit, and I'm like, you know what, fuck it. We've sent like 6 sentences back and forth. Hey, you want me to come over tonight? Slip into your bed? Like, just straight up. I was like,
Yeah.
You want to do that? She was like, yeah, that sounds great. I was like, what? And I actually went and did it. And I was like, I don't feel any better about myself, but, I was just blown away because I was like,
As long as
is it really, even though they put on all of their biography, I'm not just here for hookups, because that's every female Tinder biography that you see. I'm not just
But
here
you
for
also-
hookups.
But you're on Tinder.
And that's what this girl said.
But-
I'm not just here for hookups. I asked her, and she was like, "Yeah, let's do this thing." And I
I'm
was
not
like,
on Tinder.
"What in the hell?" I
to-
just thought it was wild.
To play devil's advocate, you just showed a bunch of confidence.
That is true. Yeah.
And you're
very
like,
true.
what are we here? What are we really going for here?
Yeah. Right.
Let's just go meet in the bed sheets. I'll bring Starbucks.
And I mean,
Fucking bypass the coffee. Let's just meet.
and it's gonna sound so judgmental, but it's Tinder. Like, you know what it is.
Yeah, I
you
had
know
heard
the
that.
animal.
Yeah, I knew that
You're
the
dealing
name itself signified, societally that this is the hookup app, and that's what it's always been said. But when I got on there, which was originally just to hook up, because I'm a dude, gotta film
Well,
it.
you know that just because
So-
it's pictures. There's
Right.
no profile, right?
No, there's a little tiny biography. It's like 200 words.
It's like fine print at the
Yeah,
bottom,
This is what I want.
which no one probably reads.
Ball gag, check.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You ought to just put that on your profile.
Just ball gag.
Ball
I've
gag.
got one.
Ball gag, that's it. Fashion ball gag.
Yeah.
But I mean, and see, it sounds judgmental that I say that, but if that's what you want,
That's what
then
I.
cool, man.
Right.
Do
That's
you?
That's what I
know?
wanted when I started off, but then as I stayed on it for a little while, I saw all of those different profiles saying I'm looking for more than just a hookup, and I was like, maybe this is a place I can find a relationship. Turns out I was very wrong.
It kind of falls in line. Have you ever heard, you can't turn a hoe into a housewife?
Yes. Right. Yeah. You nailed it.
Okay, so I worded this exactly the way to weed out. Okay.
Men and children.
Yes. I would like to find someone to build a lasting connection. I'm interested in a man that has got his own. He knows who he is and what life really means. Someone who is grounded and happy. And I think that it's important to note when people ask for others to be something, they should be it themselves. So I am those things and these things also. And then I put in, my values.
Okay.
That should weed little boys.
I was gonna say.
Oh yeah, I mean that's
The
kind of
boys.
that's kind of like a grandma app.
Now,
So,
I just updated mine. Not
hey, you're going to get
Nana.
It's not Anna. It's Nana.
yeah, that's Nana.
Let me tell you a thing about sex, whippersnapper. So, okay, mine was originally something very normal like that. Something cool, calm, collective that a sane person would write. And then I wasn't getting any hits, so I was like, let's spice it up a little. Just be a fucking sarcastic asshole. So I said, women, stop sending me pics of your boobs and asking me for nudes. If you're not under 5'6", then don't bother. If you're only looking to hook up, don't bother. If you're laughing and recognize that this is satire, please message me.
Okay.
It's different, right?
Yeah, it's a hook.
I've literally
like
gotten
a-
twice as many responses with
Yeah,
that.
it's like, okay, he might be an interesting dude to talk to. I get you.
Right. I said at the end here, I'll skip through all of that because that's talking about my career and whatnot.
I think
I
I
said-
would just go with ball gag.
I said
Everything ball gag.
But just copy and
gag.
paste it.
Name ball gag.
it said-
Profession ball gag.
It says, I'm a Marine vet, solid career as a blank, new to the area and looking for someone who is fun and mentally stable. That's literally my entire career, criteria.
Fun and mentally stable.
Yeah.
So why are you looking on Tinder?
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, I know.
That's why you're not getting
Also,
hits.
part of the sarcasm with the post. It's like, hey, I know you're out there, but not here.
Well, and you got to be
Right.
careful with sarcasm on that because,
They'll read the first two lines and be like, fuck that guy.
well, not just that.
I'm not under 5'6". Fuck him.
Well,
Like,
and to be fair, not everyone gets sarcasm through text.
that's
And
true.
they have no context of who you are, no facial expressions, no tone of voice.
Very true. Yep.
So you could be turning people off
But
with that too.
even with this, I've gotten twice as many as when I had.
So obviously some people are picking up on it.
Yeah, some people get it. And
if it's enough hyperbole, like ball gag is so asinine ridiculous
Right.
that
ball gag preferred.
Yeah. Well, that would indicate that you're being a little boy and you're going to attract a little girl.
What, ball gag?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But if
Yeah,
that's
probably.
if that's what you
if you're
want,
just there
That's
for
what you're looking
hookups,
for.
that's fine.
Yeah.
if you're
do,
there for hookups.
do you boo?
Do
know?
you boo?
Do you boo?
Do you boo? Indeed.
Yeah.
So the third thing that I have on my list here was what we were talking about a minute ago. Callie had mentioned how it's understandable that males are going to pay for things. It's expected generally in normal society. It's just not everything I say is always.
I did have a girl like pay for dinner with Mrs. E. Harmon, one of the few people I actually went on a date with. And I think there were some real issues though, because I remember after 2 dates that went pretty well, I went for just a little cheek type peck, lip peck kiss, and she did it, but it was really awkward. That like screamed like some kind of weird
Rapey shit.
trauma type.
Yeah.
She might have just not been that into it.
Well, then she shouldn't have asked me. We shouldn't have done a second date.
That's
Agreed.
a good point.
Agreed.
And it's either, yes, you're right about the trauma, or B, she just wanted a second date. But you said she paid, so.
And it could have just been. It was
I would
like
say trauma, if I had to mark that up. Just a flat-out guess.
It could have been she felt like she owed me dinner, but I don't think that's the case.
I mean, you might catch somebody who's really just,
Desperate for a friend.
super, super nice and a people pleaser. But no, that's even shittier to do to somebody though. The end result, if you're not really
Tagging
into
them along.
Yeah, if I know, like when I meet a guy, the first 5 minutes, if I would like want to suck his face, you just know. You're like, I want to kiss this person. This person is kissable.
Yeah, well, see, that was what I had. So I went on a date. I had actually talked to her for weeks and weeks, but it wasn't like she lived a little bit further out. It really wasn't like a let's just meet up tomorrow kind of shit. We knew we were going to. It's just that there was distance, so we had to organize.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah. Sorry.
So what I see now, I'm all flustered. Fluttered.
Oh, heavens.
Oh, heavens. I got the flutters. She was like hyper intellectual. Like we would sit there and just talk about like Nietzsche and astrophysics and string theory and stuff.
Oh, see, you didn't mention that.
And
She may have never been kissed before.
maybe no, this is a different girl.
Okay.
And we were talking for maybe about a month or two before we finally went out to eat. And she was cute, and definitely we got along really well. We would she didn't know I was like drinking scotch, but we would just sit there and like talk for hours on end about the most, like it would drive most people insane. But talking about like German existentialism, but when we met, there's nothing. Like, and like
A
just
pen pal, huh?
yeah. I guess like, well, she looks like her picture. It's not like there was any. I look like me. She looked like her. There's just no chemistry. And even though we seemed like we had a lot of chemistry while we were talking, and I don't know. That was kind of it for me with online dating. I never really did it again after that.
Well, I think that would be really odd. People who are more intellectual, they don't really have a lot of emotion or the
I don't. Yeah,
oomph, I guess. So you put two. not that you're terribly like that, but you put two really intellectual people together. I always wondered how that plays out. In
it's
chemistry.
The problem is with online dating, there's so much of chemistry you don't know from a picture. And I never did online dating after that. I'll tell you where I started meeting people constantly was when I went back to school.
Oh, yeah.
And then you're also meeting people that have at least similar values to you.
That's right.
At least education.
Goal.
Yeah.
And goals, and school. Now, of course, I'd be deathly afraid to go to school now because it's filled with a bunch of freaking fascist pieces of shit that are brainwashed.
The teachers or the teachers that have been, or the professors who've been dormant for like 30 years are like, yes, they pop out.
Finally, the red curtain has descended and they can come out
With their hammer and sickle.
with their hammer and sickle and fucking lay the law down.
Oh yeah, that was my experience.
This is the length of my cut and paste.
Oh Lord, you giving that too much attention.
Yeah. No, they're not reading it.
Oh, they're definitely reading it because
Oh, you
they're
think?
fired up after the first sentence. They're like, I am not that type of girl. And then they're sitting there reading the whole damn thing. And they'll save it and they'll try to reply. But he blocked me. Who does he think he is to block me?
I think
No,
you
no.
can ditch that
type-
and,
I'm
and
telling
move
you.
to the just a quick, confident.
I mean,
think that's
comeuppance
because
feels good though, right? You
It
know,
does, it does. It feels
I get it.
good.
well,
it's-
yeah, it feels good in the moment. Say, yeah, gotcha, bitch.
Yeah.
But the thing is, that's not
but there was
necessarily healthy either.
There was one that did that, and she was super cute, and I talked to her for quite a while. I mean, she was way, like, not my normal. And I had been talking to her for quite a while, and she blew me off for, like, a second time, and I sent her that. And then afterwards, I was like, fuck, man, she was so smoking hot that I should have done what you did. Or what you were referring to, which is give like an ultimatum. Hey, we're
Well,
done.
yeah,
We're kind of
because
done talking
what
here.
you're
Like,
doing-
you can meet me or you could not. Right.
You're burning a bridge.
Right. I'm 0%ing any chance.
Yeah.
Right. And with most
It's just like completely cutting off the
not-
horse at the head.
with most girls, I wasn't like I didn't feel bad afterwards. This is the one that I was like, damn, maybe she really
Because
did get
she was
busy.
hot.
'Cause not just. well,
That's
yeah.
what's important. Let's be real here.
No, I'm telling you, I'm
I
telling you.
just think guys are funny.
It was more than her just being hot. The majority of the hot girls that are just hot, but they have zero personality, and I don't like anything about them, and they're boring to me.
Yeah.
Those are the ones where I don't feel bad after I send this. This girl was actually intellectual, had her shit together, cute.
Okay.
She was a couple years older than me, which I like. Like, all of this shit added up to where I was like,
Well, I see what you're saying.
yeah. So when I sent it, I was like, man, did I
So
fuck
here-
that up? And I think I may have. So I beat myself up for like a week because
But
of it.
you mentioned earlier that
But
you
I was
had
mad in the
been
moment, you know.
asking women out. I mean, to me, that's a red flag. You shouldn't have to be. Nobody should have to ask somebody out more than once.
That's true. So second time, that's what made me so heated to be able to send that.
No,
And,
I
right,
would.
So it's
I would have just said the ultimatum.
which I think
Yeah.
would have been the best approach.
Because see, here's the thing. You
Now maybe
You-
maybe to the hot ones with zero personality that I know that are just stringing along, send that to.
You don't
But
want-
the ones that are 50-50, why not give that ultimatum because you're not burning that bridge?
you don't want to assume that someone just dates assholes. They could just be mistaking you for some kind of weak-willed, non-assertive person.
Yeah, that's true.
And so you could be closing the door on something that is actually there, and they're not that shallow bitch. You know,
Mm-hmm.
they're tired of weak men that just won't know what they want. Does that
Yeah.
make sense?
Yeah, 100%.
So I
completely
would just
agree.
recommend changing that.
So,
I think that that's smart. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna type up a second one, and this one goes to the girls that I already know that are shallow pieces of shit, and the other one goes to girls that are kind of on the fence line and waiting for a dominant male,
well,
or
from
at least an assertive male.
Well, I think
my perspective,
yeah.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but my
you're fine.
perspective is that you have not demonstrated any weakness. What is weak is when when a man does not step up and ask.
Right? Oh no, I'm all about asking.
So that, to me, that's not a demonstration of weakness.
I wouldn't think so.
A demonstration. So what I'm saying is, I don't know that this girl or these women even know what they want.
Right.
Well,
To start
and
with.
giving them the
Or-
ultimatum is all you'll need to do then.
Yeah.
If we've talked for that now, the ultimatum as the first sentence, not kosher, but not 6 months of talking.
Yeah, no,
Right.
it's not like, hey, so where are you from? Oh, I'm from Baltimore. All right, we're either going out now or we're not going out ever. You just
Yeah.
fucking answer me, bitch.
I mean, you might try that and see what happens.
She might be like, I've never had a man talk to me that way.
I got the flusters.
You have to do like an experiment, a social
I
experiment
should
for
do
us.
one. Yeah, I really should.
Give it 30 days, see how many.
Yeah. What if I was just covered and just beating them off with a stick at the end of the 30 days? They keep coming back, man. They keep knocking my door down. So the third point that I had here was we started on it and then we got off on a tangent like we always do. Males paying, females providing. And not that it's always the case thing. Sometimes it's the cougar girl with her life all together and the pool boy. You know, that happens too.
Sometimes I'd rather be the kept man.
Right. There's nothing wrong with being a pool boy. Yeah, that's true.
I almost spit my coffee out.
If I found that old leathery cougar neurosurgeon, you best believe I'm gonna be
Oh.
fishing that pool every day, just out there with a net. Like, yes, ma'am. Would you like
and if
another
they're-
martini?
If they've had like a bypass surgery.
No, now be careful because you're going to have to throw it to her. so be careful what you're asking for.
Hey,
Why
you
do
know,
you always watch porn when we're having sex? It just
it's
keeps me
like
going, man.
It's like I've been to Fallujah. I can fucking do this.
Yes, 100%. I've done worse for my country.
That worked for my country.
So we've got down the stereotypical normal American society. The male pays and the female provides. At the end of the day, that's what's expected from both parties, on average. So my next question is going to
Yeah,
be
because it's been so long since I dated. Is that still the norm?
So,
okay. Yeah, 2 cents.
my 2 cents about that is I am a woman who has my shit together, relatively speaking, and it doesn't work.
What
doesn't work.
What doesn't?
Dating somebody where I have stepped into their life.
What do you mean?
Like, for example, they're younger or they don't quite have their shit together as much as I do. They're not as mature. It does not work because the man resents the female, and it only works if the man steps into the woman's life. Does that make sense?
No, you have to.
Yeah.
All right. I'll have to quantify. Okay, I'm
What
trying
you're
not to
saying
share
makes
too
sense.
much of my personal life. But
What you're saying makes sense.
Keep it vague.
Yeah, what
Yeah,
you're saying
yeah,
makes sense,
I'm
but I
trying
don't
to.
see how it relates to this.
okay,
So make it relate to.
So you talking about females taking charge and paying, and is that what you're talking about?
No,
Or
I'm
did I
talking
lose the
about
thread?
society norm is the men are going to pay, and what's expected after several dates is some type of sexual progression.
Or at least physical
Oh.
interaction, right?
Because
Well, I
Whether-
missed the thread. I thought
you
you
misunderstood
meant,
the question.
I
Oh,
did.
okay.
I did.
Okay.
Yeah, I was thinking you, like, just when I read female provide, I was thinking like
like a
okay,
female
women-
providing a house and the sustenance and
Yeah,
all of that.
that
Oh,
shit
okay.
don't work.
Oh no,
But
no,
but as far as
and there's a reason why. That's why I said in American society this is the norm. So you would agree, and it's a norm for a good reason.
Yes,
well,
it
that's
is.
that's
That is norm.
evolution.
Exactly, yeah,
Well,
because that's what
There's
we've done
40
for
wants
tens of
some
40
ramen?
years.
Million years of
Right.
wanting a guy to go out and hunt and bring back the meat while the woman keeps the house ready.
Yeah.
Takes care of children, etc.
As much as society tries to bend that is ingrained in our psyche.
And I think
Yeah.
that we're at a perfect place in society to where if a chick wants to go out and work hard and do her job and make just as much money as a man, if she wants to have those reverse roles,
it's fine.
society allows that.
Yeah, if you want
So
to do
we're
that,
at the perfect place. But even when society allows that, do you see tons of women abandoning the motherly instincts and going into the mines? No. There's like a reason why. It's because like human nature says I should do this part and you should do this part.
Yeah.
If you want to flip that for a couple of years, or if that's just not your style, that's fine. And I think we're at a place in society to where that's great. We've gone to where now there's equality there. You can work or you can
Well,
stay
you know-
home and be a mother. But to go past that and force that,
You know
to go
what they-
third wave feminism full blown to where no woman is being a mother and every woman should be, if you're not trying to be a CEO, then you're degrading your
Well,
gender.
you know what
like
they,
that's not cool because some women want to stay home and want to be a mother and want to
Yeah.
be taken care of by their dude, and they should have that option.
the personal dynamics between a man and a woman in a relationship, I do not believe that works.
What do you
Will ever work in the long term. A female having more control.
Oh, okay. I see what
I
you're saying.
just do not see.
So you believe that-
it working in the long
You think
term.
How come?
It's got to be equal.
How come?
So you think
Oh, equal,
psychologically,
yeah.
you think psychologically traditionalism is there for a reason, and it has to be that way or it won't work.
Yes.
Okay.
And I think men get resentful and they feel emasculated.
Well, see,
That's possible.
Here's the
Yeah.
thing, there's countries like Sweden that push egalitarianism to the extreme.
Yeah.
And what they have found is the more they push what you're talking
Peterson
about.
was talking about this
the
exact
more
thing.
they
Yeah.
push that, the actual more traditional people become.
Yeah.
That is so ingrained in who we are that society, when they try to force it too hard, it actually just has the exact opposite reaction, and people get more conservative and more traditional.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the results.
So-
I just
Because
watched that same
It
thing.
just doesn't work.
So yeah,
Peterson
and
talked
that's
to-
the thing. It just doesn't work, and so I would say we have a great. It's just people are trying to fuck it up. We have actually a pretty good balance
That's what I was trying to
that
point out.
people can really kind of create a hybrid where both are contributing equally.
Right.
and it's
Or if you want to, like you were saying, the traditionalism has to be there. If for some reason you're in that situation where the woman, because granted, the vast majority of times I agree with you. That's what people shoot for in life because it's evolutionary. But in the one situation, because there's always going to be outliers. So in that one situation where the woman is more of the prominent one, the go-getter, the CEO, the doctor, in that situation, she's allowed to do that in America. And I love that, the fact that she can do that, but it's not expected of her. Because that would be silly. That would be like what you said. We're heading towards egalitarianism. Like, we're trying to push that to the next level. And that right there is bad for a culture because of all the reasons you just said.
Well, and I don't necessarily think it's bad to go back to traditional roles.
Right.
I just think that, every time we try to force something that goes against nature...
Yeah.
But I don't want to go back to traditional roles to where you can't vote, to where you can't have a job.
But that's not necessarily traditional
Well, how
roles
about-
either. That's just traditional for us before we had our shit together.
Yeah, exactly.
How about
that's a good point.
I can be whatever I want to be as a female, but I'm going to seek a relationship that is not that, or at least that the gentleman is of equal or, possibly higher status. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, there's
as
absolutely
far
nothing
as
wrong
trying to
with
push that, that's bullshit. Don't push anybody to do anything. Let them decide what they want to do.
Right, and that's where I think the problem lies, is who's doing the push on you one way or the other. No, it's very rare that you're going to come across a man here that's going to say, no, you should be back in the kitchen where you belong. It's very rare that you're going to find that. It's a lot more common that you're going to find that third wave feminist that says, how dare you stay at home and take care of your child
that's because
while you're letting your man work.
because
So
men-
it lets you know who's actually pushing their agenda versus the other one's
Sure.
like, do what you want, man.
Sure.
Well,
yeah.
most guys aren't going to care about it so much, but you're right. If men are not the primary breadwinner, it starts to grate on them.
Sure. Yeah.
And
So you would have to find that
can't just
outlier male
repress-
that would be comfortable with that.
you can't just repress evolution.
Yeah, I don't know. I think
It trickles
there's
out in different ways.
And that outlier might be 1 in a million. I don't know what it is, but
Well,
the
I think
outlier
they're
always
just lying
exists.
to
Well, I don't think
themselves,
women
though.
want a guy like I honestly don't think
Probably not
women
wrong.
really want a guy like that too, because that would be a beta male.
Yeah.
Well, it would be like I would be somebody's mommy.
Yeah.
You know, I don't want to
Yeah.
be a grown ass man's mommy.
And-
how am I going to be attracted to him?
Because cougars are different. That's a whole different ball game. That's a physical thing.
Yeah.
That is like I'm older.
Yes.
I'm single now. I'm going to
Yeah.
validate my existence by getting a younger person.
Yes.
And that's a whole different psyche than just someone who wants a kept man.
Yeah.
Right.
Now,
I agree.
What you
completely.
mentioned earlier, a lot of girls now are seeking beta males.
No, they're not. No, they're not.
No, I'm saying
The women are actually getting more depressed on average because they're saying they can't find real males, even though they're actually creating that deficit.
but we do see a lot of beta males, like not a lot. You're not going to see as many as aggressive, assertive men, but you do see beta males with girlfriends, and I think that that's unhealthy for both male and female in that relationship. And I think that that relationship is caused because third wave feminism, not first
Well,
or
they're
second
being-
wave.
I
I'm all
think
about
they-
first and second wave.
I
but
think
third
they
wave
think they
feminism,
want that until they get it.
Yeah,
right?
I
Exactly.
agree.
And third wave feminism has pushed them. You will get a man that will be subservient to you. And then when they actually get that, like you said, it's very
They
unhealthy.
did a study, and I don't remember what school it was. Yeah, excuse that, but they showed women pictures of men, and it was firefighters with 6-packs and yellow suspenders. It was
Men that look like me. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. And and then guys with scarves and little beanies and
Also men
Little
like me.
beanies.
and skinny jeans and shit.
Yeah.
And they had women rating attractiveness levels. Even lesbians were rating
Yeah.
the men with the 6-pack and the fire hat as
Right.
more attractive.
All masculine features.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I can
Even
kind of speak
people
to that
who
a
didn't
little
like
bit.
dick were
Big
Well,
dick vibes.
I
you know?
think I'm a very strong female. and I am because I've had to be.
I can I can imagine you push away a lot of men.
I historically, probably because, well, you and I worked together for a long time. You know how I am. He's seen me at my bitchiest, but yes. So, but I think it's honestly, if I were to be like really true to myself, it's an invitation. Like, step the fuck up. You know, go tell me to sit my ass down somewhere.
Oh,
I mean, truthfully speaking, right? And
somebody
not that
ain't rocked it yet.
And not that I wanted to like be, no, dominate. I've had to be strong. So women who are kind of alpha, they want to relax and know that there is somebody who is like, chill, rest, I got this, babe.
Well, I mean, the research is really clear that depression levels are, especially with women, are getting so much higher. And what they're saying is there's just not enough strong men. Even though they're pushing a society that emasculates men horribly. We were talking the other day, actually, about pornography. Mm-hmm. Porn and video games have been absolutely damaging as hell to men. Mm-hmm. And to women, but women probably don't know that as much. Maybe they do. I don't know. But it's just men are just, they've given up on relationships. Mm-hmm. And I just read an interesting article on that the other day, that they're just giving up. It's just easier to look at porn. Mm-hmm. Or actually, ironically, you and I, a long time ago, we talked about the sexual revolution. All that did was give men what they wanted. Pussy. Right. Without strings attached. Yeah. Right? Oh, I'll fuck whoever I want. And then okay, what are you doing? Are you trying to hurt me? Yeah. Oh, abortion. Oh, what are you going to do? Now I have no responsibility for my sex?
What do you mean I have to go home and play Grand Theft Auto?
Well, what do you mean? Yeah. No. So the whole sexual revolution, everything has put women on the ass. Mm-hmm. And because it's like, so now they can just give it up. And then a guy can go back to his house, play video games, don't have to worry. If you don't want kids, you don't have to have them.
I was talking to my mom the other day about this, about how good video games are nowadays and how they're just going to keep getting better until eventually, and this isn't some sci-fi shit. Are you
talking about the sex toys?
No, I didn't have that conversation with my
robots.
Mom. She's a saint. She wouldn't talk about things like that. So, at some point, though, whether it's 5 years now or 100 years from now, eventually something like the Matrix is going to exist, to where you can literally just sit there all day and just be in another world, to where
it's already happening,
right, through VR and things like that.
Addiction to video games and porn are fulfilling all these needs,
exactly,
and the guys don't have to feel that sense of societal rejection.
And the thing is, my mom asked, would you, like we were talking about these high intense video games, she was like, would you rather live your life, or would you rather be in an environment like that to where you could control everything and everything was fun all the time and it was hedonistic in that way, which was the Matrix. Mm-hmm. And I was like, shit, I'll take that blue pill in a heartbeat. You put me in the Matrix, I am as happy as a
except you with hedonism, it takes more and more to get the same feeling.
It does. Right.
So it would eventually fail.
But
and then you'd be stuck with a feeling of emptiness.
That's true. After you party on the yacht so many times, you're eventually going to get bored with it and want more and more and more. I get that, but
I guess a video game could continue to give you that. But they look at studies on porn and video games. It decreases gray matter in the brain. I mean, that's your neural soup.
I couldn't agree more. Which one is the more responsible decision to stay in the real world? Which one is the funner and more entertaining decision to get sucked into the Matrix?
Well, and honestly, society shits on men so fucking bad right now that most guys are just opting out.
That's what I'm getting at, is that, but to an extent, the responsible decision would be to stay on planet Earth. But the funner decision and the decision where you're not going to be shit on every day, would be to enter that type of reality.
Well, no one wants to just face continual societal rejection.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm getting at. 100 years ago, I probably would not have answered that way because my life was pretty good. I came home. My wife made cookies. Like, we're gonna hang out now. Like, I'm gonna.
You worked.
I
You worked
might
10 hours a
I
day.
might-
You ate and fell asleep.
I might
reading a book.
actually have sex with my wife 3 times a week. That'd be nice, you know? So those types of, if it was that type of reality, then sure. But the reality where we just constantly fight like cats and dogs and you have sex once a month and you both hate each other until you have a divorce and she takes half your shit, I don't want to do that. Are you kidding me? Between that and the Matrix? It's fucking obvious.
The funny
which one I
thing
would
is, I
take.
think that was probably happening in the Matrix too,
Well,
Yeah.
but
because they were living the life that we're living now.
It's like
Yeah,
The
that's
Sims.
right. That's
It's
right.
like The Sims. Yeah, your
Sometimes
house
you're-
burnt down. Sorry.
Sometimes your
Yeah.
Sim's life sucks. My Sim actually hung himself. So you know what?
Played as a ghost sim for 2 hours.
So what we did in college was we designed Sims based on our real life, which is ignoring all of our real life responsibilities by creating a simulation of our real life. That's kind of fucking ironic, but so we had like the fraternity house and the people living in there, and each one had a sim, and we based its characteristics kind of as much as we could on the person. And I lived in my little 1-bedroom apartment, and
Had a cat.
and yeah. And the girl that was dating somebody that always made fucking cookies at her house, like she lived at the dorms, and she actually burned down the dorms making cookies. It was so real. And it was funny how like realistic that played out, because we also set the personality traits to be as similar. But my sim actually hung itself,
Oh.
and he like peed on himself and then hung himself. He's like first, you know, and so.
Awful.
But see, I wasn't like that in real life because I just got in my fucking car and went to the frat house.
Yeah.
You know, but my sim, that was a lot of work to make him keep doing that.
Yeah.
Because, you know, Sims, you have to micromanage.
Well, just like in real life, I mean, that is a lot of work. Because if you're making up for all of your different personality flaws by filling the social meter, but you forgot to poop today, you know, like that can be taxing to a human being in real life too.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you're always trying to be someone you're not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, well, you know, we know with COVID, we know well before COVID, isolation's really bad for you.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's the worst thing you can do to a prisoner.
Oh.
I was on the seg wing when I worked in a facility.
Yeah.
I guess it's okay to say that I was a
that's a
counselor there.
past.
Yeah. So I was a counselor at a facility and I worked in the seg wing. And that was the worst place
Some
that a
people
human
want
being
it, but
could
most
be.
sure don't.
The people that wanted it already had mental health shit when they went in there. The people
Yeah.
that didn't came out with mental health shit. I mean,
Yeah.
it was
Yeah.
really like isolating a person is worse than strapping them to a board and like tugging on their joints and shit. I mean, it's literal torture. And it's crazy because you're not even doing anything to actively torture them. You're just segregating them.
People are social beings by nature.
But to such an extent that they would prefer to be tortured along with 10 other people than to be isolated
By themselves.
Yeah, I mean,
it's extreme.
Well,
Yeah.
you think about it, your mind, I mean, what goes on in your mind when you're isolated? You know,
Right.
that is worse than being
to
getting
me
your
that
ass
shows,
whipped. or-
Yeah,
Unless you're like some Buddhist monk who can sit there in the mountain
Yep.
by himself for years on end.
that's a rare
But
person.
most people are not self-actualized in prison.
Right.
Yeah. And
Or in your day-to-day with COVID. You know, most people are in their apartments like dyeing their pubic hair multiple colors and losing their shit.
that's what I've been doing.
That's a real life that someone I used to play games with.
Okay.
They were losing their fucking ever-living shit.
Was his
Being
name Biggie?
isolated.
Yeah.
And she was actually dyeing all of her body hair, and like she didn't know what to do with her time. And
Yeah.
and
That's
couldn't see her boyfriend. I'm like, well, why the fuck not?
That's
You
what
know-
I'm saying. People accept all this shit. You know, like Gavin Newsom is saying, you know, close your mask
Mask above the
between
nose.
bites. you know.
Yeah, yeah. Ain't that something else? Between bites.
Yet they catch these fuckers on camera and they're like not doing. Like that doctor, that COVID doctor that was running his mouth about social distancing and shit. They saw him like at Daytona Beach without a mask with like 12 bikini-clad women.
I went to one of my Marines recently died. He was only 31 years old. He was younger than me, and it was really sad. He passed away of cancer. That's where I've been for the past week. I flew to Central United States to see him and do his funeral, and 8 of us showed up, which was awesome. That's a great turnout considering we were from California, Florida, Maine. I mean, literally everywhere that you can think of, and we all came to this. Not all of us, but enough to represent the platoon successfully, and the mother was blown away.
Yeah.
So when we go, though, like, one of my buddies jumped out of the vehicle, and I know he's a blue guy. Like, I don't know how far blue he is, but he gets out, and he's one of my best buds, and I start talking to him, and, like, within the first 2 or 3 sentences, and he knows who I am and where I stand, I was like, so, Cali, huh? And he's like, yeah, bro. I was like, yeah. Heard you guys got to mask up between bites there. And he was like, psh, fool. And it was just so funny because I knew that was going to be his reaction. I was kind of just poking the bear like, hey, how's your boy Gavin Newsom doing there? You know, what are you guys doing?
They're, you don't... that's why I'm always in my head. I'm like, how is socialism really going to work in America? You don't tell Americans what to do. We have a totally different culture.
We have a tendency to not appreciate that.
Yeah. We, whether it's maturity or not, it's just culturally ingrained to just say, all right, fuck you, I'm going to do what I want to do then.
Right.
Yeah.
And because we hate hypocrisy. Now, if some of these people that were making the rules were actually abiding by their rules, you might see a little bit different attitude.
Right.
But every time we catch these people doing whatever the hell they want to do and telling you can't.
Specifically for me, I would have been just being me, being the little rebel that I am, I would have been more inclined to wear a mask if you suggested it rather than made it a mandate. You don't make mandates to me. Like, who in the fuck are you? You're 5 years older than me. Fuck out of here. You know?
Yeah.
So that...
Basing it on information that may not even be accurate.
Yeah.
Like
that's your opinion. Like, are you a... And the thing is, they'll go back to, well, I'm not a CDC expert, but the CDC experts have told me. And I'm like, look, I don't want yours... I don't want secondhand information causing you to make a mandate which affects me. You're not even an expert in this field. You've just gotten data from somebody that may or may not be right on this. I didn't check their credentials. I don't know anything about them. You're going to make a mandate on me? How about you make a suggestion?
Well,
and it's much more likely I'm going to follow a suggestion than a mandate.
So this ties into what we were talking about with relationships and evolution. There is a fundamental misunderstanding of nature, humans thinking they can control it.
Yeah.
Because one of my buddies works at the ER, or not in the ER, he works in the hospital. Actually, he works in the ER. And he works with nurses and stuff all the time that work in the COVID units. And they're loaded, and what people keep saying, I did everything I was supposed to. And what we're finding is, no matter what country in the world, no matter what different regulation, all their numbers look the same. Even like Japan, it's all starting to go up.
Right.
And so what that tells me is you can't control nature. And it's kind of like the more you try to emasculate men to build up women, which is fucking stupid anyway. What you, like in therapy, you would never cut someone down to build someone up. That's the exact opposite. You just build up everyone.
Well, it's bad parenting, isn't it? It's shaming one child, trying to help the other child, but really you're not supposed to shame anybody.
No, and so when it's pretty obvious that. See, I'm not even going to get on my bandwagon on spirituality because I think when you make science your god, you start to think you can control nature. And, you can make a case for it. I mean, we've done a lot. Global warming, all right, well, let's turn the temperature down a little bit in the house. You can make a little bit of an argument that we've been pretty damn successful. Actually, you can make a pretty good argument that we've been pretty successful in controlling nature. But the thing is, when it hits hard, there's nothing we can do, like a tornado or a hurricane, earthquakes, COVID.
Yeah.
And so all these people that have made, religious people, the core tenet of every religion is suffering is inevitable. You cannot avoid suffering. It is nature. And how you deal with it is, dependent on your religion. It's, people who don't believe in religion and they've made science their God, it's, I can control this.
Yeah.
We can do something to make this better. When the reality is maybe there's nothing you can do.
You just have to let nature take its course, right?
And nature may be selecting a hell of a lot of people out. You realize for the most part, it's not the healthiest folks dying. There's always a couple exceptions, right?
Oh, yeah.
But for the most part, it's elderly and people with significant pre-existing conditions.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a
I
good
agree
point.
with that.
And that sounds really cold and really mean, but nature doesn't give a shit.
Right.
So if you're going to say science is your God, then that means you need to also believe in nature and evolution.
I think that's a very fair statement. If you're going to go with science as God, then you also have to recognize when science is going to be able to fuck you up and there's nothing you can do about it because that is nature. I think that those two, a lot of people hold one view and not the other. We can control everything. And I'm like, no, you also need to recognize science. Chaos.
Control's an illusion.
That's like chaos theory.
That is chaos theory.
Yeah, so I mean, you need to recognize that that's a real thing, and not just think that because you don't believe in a spiritual entity of some sense that you can control everything. Chaos theory does exist for a reason. So, yeah.
Well, I think what you were saying about suggestion. Most people I would like to think do take personal responsibility. Well, some.
We have a lot of people that don't. That actually is America's worst trait, is taking responsibility.
Well, I'm not going to roll up on an 80-year-old without my mask. I'm going to go ahead and put it on, just in case.
Yeah.
Because I don't want that woman or man to die because of me. If I'm carrying this thing asymptomatic, I mean, so it should be personal responsibility.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I agree.
As opposed to forcing.
So where's the balance between living your life and being responsible? And accepting that some people are going to die no matter what we do.
Yeah. Well, it's certainly not screaming at people who are in their car, wear a fucking mask. Have you seen this?
Yeah, I've seen some of those videos. That teacher over in Oregon that was like screaming at the people who wanted their schools opened up again.
Well, also,
something that losing it.
Something that they did earlier on that I thought was like pretty good idea was some of these major companies would set aside certain hours for elderly or people that were high risk to go in. That sounds wonderful. How about we do that?
Yeah.
And if I'm a young person and maybe I've got a factor or two, but I don't feel like I need a mask. I mean, our president just fought it off, and he's like 74 and he eats cheeseburgers every day. So I feel pretty healthy. So
even though he's got more energy than your average 25-year-old.
Oh, for sure, yeah. So I'll go in
probably
without a mask.
A little bipolar.
But at the same time, like you said,
I think he's on stimulants.
Yeah, you got that.
Well, he's like a straight edge, like
no
no
alcohol.
Drugs, no alcohol. I mean, coffee. That was the Kovifi comment when he hadn't slept, and some people are bipolar too.
Yeah.
Hypomanic. They just have that kind of energy all the time.
Regardless of what he's doing, it's working for him. So I'm not going. I mean, even if
people like Martha Stewart are like that too.
I have no issue with that.
Martha Stewart says she sleeps like 3 hours a day. Well, that's just a nap.
Yeah.
That's not even a full REM cycle.
Right. Yeah.
Yet she's managed. She's a mogul of this huge multi-international corporation.
Well, I'm just wondering how you knew that about Martha Stewart, but we won't go there.
I told you I like cougars.
Character studies.
Hey, she's pretty fetching for her age. I'm not going to lie. Martha Stewart was knocking at my door, and
those 6 months that Callie wasn't around, he was taking care of pools. All right. So with
I went up to Martha's Vineyard. I was like, "You need your pool cleaned." In every sense
she just
of the
threw
word.
1 foot up on the desk. Yeah, I do.
I was like, "I will clean your pool."
I bet you will. So what you were saying though, like an 80-year-old lady, you're not going to go around her, which I completely agree with and understand. Mm-hmm. So if I had to visit my Nana in a,
she's right here.
She came and visited me. So if I had to visit her in an old folks home, mandate or not, I would wear a mask. Like that's common sense. We're in an old folks home. Like that's the polite thing to do and the decent thing to do. But if I'm going into Sheets because I got to buy something, and you're demanding that I wear a mask because some 85-year-old person decided to go to Sheetz at the same time, and I have to be respectful of them, I have an issue with that.
Yeah, because they're not taking responsibility for their care.
Exactly. Why do you expect the entire rest of the world to change their lifestyle because of you? You're 1%. You're 5%. You are less than 50%. Regardless of the specific percentage, you are a minority in that extent. You should have to pacify them, not them pacify you. Well, and that goes kind of to like totalitarianism.
Welcome to America's weakest link, and that is the sense of entitlement.
Exactly. Yeah.
That is our country's like absolute Achilles heel. Is that sense of entitlement?
Yeah.
How about if
it's because we're so abundant?
It is. It's caused by was that last week we were talking about the reason we're failing is because capitalism was so successful?
Yeah, that's exactly what we were talking about.
Yeah.
So if you want to go into the store, either go to the hours that Walmart set for you, or if you need gas, wait until everybody's out of Sheetz, or call ahead and let them know, and then
most people do curbside anyway.
Exactly. We'll figure something else out other than just everyone change your lifestyle because of this one person.
But that's America.
That makes sense.
We always accommodate and I think like a lot of that stuff, like identity politics, it starts off with decent intention. It's like, well, no one's advocating for this 1%.
Right.
So we need to advocate for them. But the problem is they don't know when to halt the brakes.
Yeah.
And then what happens is that 1%, for whatever reason, they stop being able to fend for themselves, and they just start expecting something.
Yeah.
And I would say it's funny. Anybody can be... It's funny when people talk about minority and identity politics and minority status, because everybody is a minority in something.
That's true.
It's like, oh, you're a white male. Okay, well, I also have an autoimmune disease. So now I'm a minority.
Yeah. There's very small handful of people that are not minorities
in something.
Right. It's very, very small.
And that's the problem with labeling.
Yeah.
You know,
well, that's why identity politics is inherently racist and just really twisted.
All the ists.
Yeah. It's awful. It's ageist, racist,
Yeah.
No, identity politics is just absolutely tearing our country apart. But that's Marxism. Because in Marxism, you remove the individual for the collective, right?
Well, and you read it, right? And it sounds good.
It does.
It doesn't sound insidious.
No,
right?
It sounds like you're just trying to make it equal for everybody.
Yeah.
Of course, evolution, this is the irony, right? Because we're talking about science being your God. Nature's anything but equal. Nature's fucking cruel.
Oh, for sure.
And it's equally cruel. It doesn't discriminate. But you can't. There's so many types of privilege.
So, my number 3 here thing that I started out with, male pay, female provide.
We never answered it, did we?
A quick. Well, I never got to the end, but I was just stating facts, and then we started talking about
we did.
other things.
For the most.
Yeah, right.
I think
we all
I
found
took
out,
it off on a tangent. I think we did deviate from what you originally.
But I do
intended,
think I think we nailed though what we were looking for, and that is that all 3 of us respect traditionalism.
I think
what it is.
Even if you don't,
as long as people are happy.
Even if you don't, I think our collective opinion was, you do you.
Yeah.
And
do you boo?
Do you
was
boo?
exactly what it was.
And because I think we also seem to agree that the more you force in one direction, the more natural rules of law will take place.
Right. So what we're gonna do right now is have an uncomfortable moment. So I figure we should make an uncomfortable moment something that is very polarizing for every episode. Something that one of the 3 of us are going to be like, I disagree with that.
Something that's instantly meant to trigger the fuck out of one of us.
Yes, exactly.
Don't give him the power. He knows how to trigger. He knows how to trigger me.
I can trigger everyone.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah, he's good at that.
We're all 3 actually. We would probably be able to do. Not me and you yet. We don't have that dynamic. But give it a little bit of time, and we'll all 3 figure out what each one's.
It was empty.
Thank God.
All right.
He's gonna get sued right there.
So all right, so our uncomfortable moment today is, and And this may not, when we bring up an uncomfortable moment, I'll bring one up. Next time it's your turn, we'll just cycle back and forth.
Okay.
So my uncomfortable moment that I think that I may get some pushback on here is the Weinstein case. The case of the guy that is
Harvey Weinstein?
Yeah.
The Hollywood dude who was
Yep.
groping
Me
on
Too.
all the actresses.
Correct.
Yeah, the Me
Right.
Too bullshit movement.
Right. So with that, I may or may not get some pushback, but this is my uncomfortable moment that I've got to ask. Should he have been incarcerated? Should he have faced legal consequences in any way, shape, or form?
Didn't he
If
have
so,
actual
why?
rape charges?
I'm not sure. And this is the thing. I didn't do all of my fact work, and that's one of the things I'm also asking.
Yeah, that
if he
kinda-
did have rape charges and they were full accusations and proved, then that changes
I
things a
think
little
there
bit.
was like 24 accusations that were dropped because it was, you know, as an actress, you are making a decision whether or not you want to sleep with that man for that role.
Right.
And this is exactly what
and
I'm
I
getting
think
at.
those charges were dropped. I think there was like 24 of them.
Okay.
But I think there was a couple actual ones where he had physically like fingered or groped someone.
I think that before we go any further, I think that we can all agree that if there was some actual rape, like I said no and you held me down type of rape, like real rape,
Yeah.
if that
That's prison.
If that existed, that's prison. Like we all agree with that.
Yeah.
That's pretty cut and dry. But with those ones that you said, here's my uncomfortable moment legal question. If we were going to initially charge him for rape, because these girls he had used his power over them to get them to perform sexual acts on him so that they could get roles in movies. If we were to go through with that, I wouldn't consider it rape. I would consider it solicitation because it's it's payment for a service.
It's quid pro quo.
But if we're going to go,
Yeah.
if we're going to go through with that and charge him even with solicitation, a much lesser offense than rape, are we also not going to charge them with prostitution?
Yeah, because it's
That's my uncomfortable
Well, the problem
question.
is, it's everything we've talked about today is quid pro quo. You know, you buy me enough meals, I'll put out.
And that's
You
where
know, I
thought it
put
was
out,
from.
you give me a role in this movie. So, and that to some extent, that is how society works. That
Goods
is
and services
the
for-
exchange of services and goods. And so
Free market.
that is, if you, and let's be real, people in Hollywood are good looking.
Yeah.
Sex, their bodies, that's their marketable, but that's their commodity.
Right.
They're selling themselves. And I guess that's probably pretty triggering, but the thing is, they're using their commodity to get that role. They don't need to give Harvey Weinstein money.
Right. He's not interested in
He's
that.
not interested in money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, and he's probably not interested in like just taking him out to eat and hanging out and talking about his feelings.
Yeah.
Maybe. But he probably hangs out with his didn't he hang out with Meryl Streep? I was like his friend who was like defending him, and she's icky for a whole bunch of reasons. But
So with that being said,
yeah,
we either, as a society, we look at it and we say, I'm going to charge him with solicitation, I'm going to charge her with prostitution. Or as a society, we look at him and we say, we're going to charge him with rape and she's the victim. Or as society, now look, I'm given four different things here. As society, we're going to look at him and say, this is rape because you held a position of power. That's
Yeah.
what we do with COs in prison. Because even if the girl was 100% consensual, we say he was in a position of power, and at that moment she couldn't say no. Even though she was the one that egged on, we're still going to get him with Priya,
because
and that's rape.
you can always say no.
Right, exactly. So,
And then if you say no and then it continues against your will, then it's actual rape.
but if you're the one that initiated this, to me, that changes. I'm not going to violate Priya at any point in my life. I don't intend to.
Well, let's be real.
But-
Harvey Weinstein, people knew what they were signing up for when they'd go to a producing
That's
meeting
true.
with that man.
But the
His
the more-
casting couch, the casting couch
Is a real thing.
legendary.
Yeah.
People know about it.
So what I'm getting at is more of the philosophical principle here, rather than that specific case and the facts behind it. Is what I'm getting at here is, like I said, there's four things. We could either, as a society, say he raped her because he was in a position of power, which, as I know, as institutes, they have no problem doing that. So and charging them with full-blown rape.
Yeah, I
like,
definitely would
like
say...
I beat her over the head and dragged her down an alley.
Yeah,
type
I
rape.
would
And I'm
definitely
like,
say no to that.
Exactly.
That's not right.
Secondary, we could charge him with solicitation, and she is the victim in this. He solicited her. She's the victim. She's not in any way, shape, or form responsible for this. Also, a shitty decision.
No, because she's got... Unless she has some disability that lets her, like, intellectually disabled.
Exactly.
Like, if you want to say I'm a strong woman... You know, you have to be able to say, I make my own decisions, too.
Right.
I'm not going to sell my body for a role in a movie.
That's the issue I take with the whole thing. And that's why I would have to look at it individually. Because, first of all, you know, this man should have been removed from power. You should not hold a position.
Well, everybody knew it.
Power. Yes, so that's the issue, right? I take umbrage with people who
Heavens.
got the flusters.
So with the people that just allowed this to go on because they were getting a cut, like his secretary, you know, how much extra was she getting a month to turn her head?
Mm-hmm. It's the same with all the pedophile crap going on in Hollywood.
Yeah, why aren't these folks being held accountable too? You know, they knew about it. They allowed it to go on, but it's because there was something in it for them. So my issue actually is more with them than it is with Harvey Weinstein. He's just an asshole, and he wants to...
Right,
He's a sick fuck. And
he's a sleazy dude.
Yeah,
I don't think anybody would disagree
with that. He's
sleazy. Right, and those guys have been
people
around forever.
Yeah, right? Sleazy freaking people.
So he should have been removed... At least by the third time that he was doing this shit.
You don't need, see, that's the thing with the free market. You could have gone to any other producer. He's a producer, right? You could have gone to any other producing agency to ask for the money. Mm-hmm. You didn't have to go to... Everyone knew what that dude was doing.
Right.
Everybody knows. That's just been going on since like the 80s or something they said, or early 90s. So they could have been... Free market, right? If you don't like what someone's selling, you stop going to them. You stop giving them $1.
Yeah, so, and I would...
They could have weeded him out.
And I would... There's a charge for that, right? Accessory?
Accessory to crime?
Accessory. So I'd charge them people.
Oh, like the secretaries, everybody who was collecting $1.
For allowing this to go on, having knowledge of the crime, etc.
Straight up. Yeah. And as far as the women...
But now, and I'm not disagreeing with you. Legally, what you're saying makes sense. But now we're getting to the ethics of how far are we going to push this? Are we going to... I mean, what if me and you knew? But we didn't really have anything to do with this, but we knew about it and we didn't report it. How far down that rabbit hole are we going to go? How many people are we going to charge?
That's why I wouldn't go there, because...
Exactly, and that's kind of what I'm getting at, which bleeds to my third thing. We said rape is a no. Solicitation on his behalf and her being a victim is a no.
Not if you're going to say they're both adults.
Well, here's
exactly.
The, here's
and they both had something to gain from it.
Here's the thing. I guess you would have to pick that apart if you were going to charge other people, like who really supported it, who was really involved, and that would be hard to prove.
Right.
Okay, so I got you on that. But as far as the women, now we are assuming that they knew who this man was. We're also assuming that these women are adults and, you know, that they're not naive from Iowa coming to, you know,
and there's going to be plenty of those girls that, you know, they get turned over on the casting couch and then they still don't get the role and then they feel...
I remember the first time it happened to me, I was so mad.
So how do you think you got this role?
Well, my heart goes out to them. So I would not say that 22-year-old who really wanted a role and a dream of a career, I would not say she was prostituting herself.
The big names in Hollywood
if she didn't know ahead of time. Like if the female knew, okay, well, I got to go suck his dick if I'm going to get this role.
But how many girls...
Let's do it.
How many girls...
You know?
I want to say, though, there's something to gain for both parties. That's what makes it an equal exchange. Whether there's power or not, you have something to gain from that.
Right, and if we're leaving
and
out...
you can say no.
We're leaving out the actual rape.
Yeah, we're leaving out, I said no and it still happened.
Right.
Or just... You know, I did hear a lot of cases where they didn't know what was going to happen ahead of time, and he's like, you know, gotcha, bitch.
The ones where he got like exposure, like we came out of the shower with it naked, you know.
Right. If we're to
he got charged for that.
If we're to take this he's soliciting and she's a victim, if we're to take that and use that as a blanket to make a law, then I'm in trouble, you're in trouble, every man that's ever bought a woman a meal is in trouble, because at that moment he held a position of power over her. He was going to buy her dinner, and then he expected sex. He expected sex, and she gave it to him at the end of the night. Is that considered solicitation?
I would say women hold the power. I would say women hold the power there, because ultimately they're the gatekeepers of their vagina.
So in other words, can we charge them for theft?
And
I'm just saying, if we're getting silly,
so seriously.
if we're getting
charge
silly,
women for, I would charge women for solicitation, because they're holding us, to pay for those meals in hopes for some vagina. And
right.
And so actually
it sounds like embezzlement.
They have all the power.
Then what you can do is go find you a girl and say, honey, I got $3 to my name. And if she says, okay, well, you can buy me a hot dog and I'll buy you a hot dog, then you know you met your match.
There you go. Case closed.
Nice and easy.
And that's probably a good way to close.
Well, no, I got just a little bit more.
He's got to keep going.
I got to. So, and the final point is coming. So we got rape. We count that out. Solicitation with victim. We're going to count that out. Solicitation and prostitution. So if I charge him with solicitation, I'm going to charge her with prostitution too, because.
Well, if she's selling her vagina for a role, which is money, how's that not?
And if you can actually determine that that's what was happening in all cases, because I do not think it was that in every single situation.
Right.
But for sure, there's plenty of females that were, and now they're hollering.
The ones, and a lot of those got thrown out.
And what I'm getting at is
the ones where he just came out with dick flailing,
exactly.
That was those are the ones he got in trouble for.
Right. So we'll say that with one solicitation and the other one charged with prostitution, we'll say that would be considered a case-by-case basis, and there's a lot more detail that you would need in order to prove accusations against either side. I would err on the side of, which is my fourth point, nothing.
Yeah,
now
that's my point. Is just you're two consenting adults at that point, and there's both something to gain.
And you had sex with him, and the next day you regretted it.
Well, I don't know that I disagree.
Yes.
I don't know that I disagree entirely. So long as this man does not have the opportunity to do it again. Kind of like Bill Cosby. His
he
legacy
was drugging
is
people.
Yes, but what I'm saying is
that's just pure rape.
My feeling is that I don't even think Bill Cosby should be in jail right now. He's an old man, I think his legacy should have been removed, and it was. So Harvey Weinstein's legacy should be removed, and he shouldn't be allowed to hold that level of power.
If you go to his Wikipedia
again.
page, it's like film, actor, producer, convicted rapist. That's like his definition of who he is as a person.
Maybe that was the thing.
So he'll go down in history as a convicted rapist.
So we're like a social pariah.
Well, he didn't get in trouble though, as far as I'm and he didn't get in trouble. They threw out a ton of cases on those allegations. It was the ones where he came out dick flailing and the person was groping against. Despite people saying no.
I do think there's something to be said when people, look at you and say, I know who you are.
Oh, yeah.
Sometimes that's enough.
That's why...
Yeah. I know what you are and...
All right, so to wrap my uncomfortable moment up here, which I don't know if it might be uncomfortable for you. I'm not sure. But give me a minute. Based on what you've said...
As somebody...
Based on what I believed about you, I thought it would be uncomfortable. Based on how the conversation's going, now I'm second guessing and wondering if it's going to be uncomfortable for you or you're just going to be like, oh, yeah. So, we're getting there.
Okay.
So, we've cut out the nothing. We've said that me and you agree that, in other words, there should be no charges
two adults,
for either side.
Everyone's got something to benefit.
Right. Which almost sounds like legalized prostitution.
So what you want is us to legalize prostitution? Is this what this whole thing was about? So that you could get a hooker?
This
You're
whole
such
thing,
a fucking Marine.
This whole thing. Why do you think that I do these things? Okay, I'm just trying to sell my points
rabbit
here.
trail to try to so you can argue legalizing prostitution.
So, all right. So if that was consenting adults if that was an exchange between two consenting adults, pussy for cash, cash for pussy, etc. If that's what that was, and you say no charge should be had, What is difference between that and paying monetary value to somebody on the side of the street to suck your dick?
No, nothing. That's the joke that all the comedians make, that it's a
Yeah.
form of prostitution. If a
Right.
girl's intentionally putting out at a certain fee that the man spends, a certain amount, then they willingly, cognitively allow themselves to put
So
then that is exactly what prostitution is.
Right, 100% it is. What
We're
I'm
just
asking
getting
is-
around the laws.
Right. What I'm asking, exactly. What I'm asking here is specifically, and this is not...
Do we think we should legalize prostitution?
Exactly. And at
You
the end of
could
the
have just
day...
fucking asked all that. You didn't need to talk
No,
about
no.
Harvey Weinstein for 20
No, but this
minutes.
was a perfect example to bring up, to bring to light why society is comfortable with prostitution as long as there's little, well, it was for a job, well, it was a position of power, well, it was this and that. Why are we talking about any of this if it's two consenting adults? Why is prostitution just in general not legal? Is my question. I see
all I
it
know
as
is
it should
in-
be legal. That's my...
In Vegas, it's really annoying because all these like Mexicans like flip little
Oh,
playing
yeah.
cards at you to sleep
Yep.
with these women. And have you ever been to Vegas? It's literally a bunch of Mexicans line the street and give you like baseball cards with
They
stats
all
for prostitutes.
smell like body odor from a mile away, and they don't speak any English. That is their job.
and
for
they
like
hand
$2
you
an
out
hour.
porn cards
Yep.
for prostitutes, and it's so
And
obnoxious.
they're high quality porn cards. Like
Yeah.
it's more
No.
high quality than the card I have. Literally.
Yeah, no, I think the argument, the fact that we're having that argument probably means our society is on the downhill. But do I think it should, this is like the drug thing, and we don't need it, it's, we're already kind of at our time. What I think is a moral problem and what I think is a constitutional right are two conflicting things.
Yeah,
I would agree.
I agree.
So would the legality and
The Constitution does not say that that two consenting adults can't exchange money for sex.
Right. So constitutionally and legally, you don't think that it's an issue. Morally, you don't want your daughter doing
I
it.
think
think
it's
it's
the
an
decay of our
yeah.
country.
Okay.
I
Right.
kind of agree with that
Okay.
as well.
I see where both of you are coming from, and I agree too. I don't want my daughter participating in it, but at the same time, I don't think.
And I would also
police
give
should-
my daughter shit, by the way, if I heard her say, well, I guess I'll put out, he's bought me dinner 3
Yeah.
times. I'd be like, hey,
Exactly.
what the fuck are you saying?
That's an important
Yeah.
thing. Yeah, that's exactly what that is. So yeah, that was my uncomfortable moment though, and yeah, I like these uncomfortable moments because you kind of learn
It's
where
good.
everybody
It
sits.
gives you a week for us to come up with one.
Yeah, yeah.
And,
Yeah.
I dig it.
So who's doing the next one?
Oh, I guess I am.
All right.
Thanks for listening to the Biggie Callie Show. It's been a crazy ride, and Nana's here, So come on back next week and give us a friendly ear. We'll have ourselves a merry time and drink American beer.